What's up, Flannelverse? Another great stream tonight with a couple fantastic guests. First, going to be joined by Kyle Dvorchak of Roto World, who just had a second place DFS. He doesn't seem too happy. So I won't call it a win, but he got second place for $10,000 in DFS last night. Fantastic analyst, longtime friend. We worked at Awesemo. We overlapped. We didn't work together a ton there, but been doing content here and there with Kyle for a long time. So excited to talk some NFL with Kyle, and then we'll be also joined in an hour by Lord Reebs, Richard Hribar from Sharp Fantasy Analysis for another draft and to talk a little bit more about. Rich has some different takes on some players, so excited to talk about his ranks. We're going to use his rankings for that draft. But before that, while you are coming in, please do like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. And if you're interested, you can join. I do have a piece of content on the Eliminator contest behind the paywall here. So if you're planning on playing the Eliminator contest on Underdog, it's a format I had some success in last year. Got 2 lineups into the top 1%, got 1 to the 15th round with only 60 teams drafted. I think I've got a pretty good read on how you should be playing this contest. So if you are interested, or if you just want to show support, it's $5 a month to join the Flannelverse here on YouTube. And you can also then get access to some private Discord channels. All right, without further ado, I'm going to bring Kyle in here. Kyle, like I said, you got second place last night. Some people are like, oh, yeah, that's awesome. You know, I congratulate you. You're like, thanks for bringing that up. So you're not a fan of second place.
I mean, like in any game, this is true of best ball. If you're like a poker tournament player, in any game that we play, like you can only stomach so many second places, both in terms of like the emotional toll it takes on you to be so close to the finish line and have a good finish, but not to get a great finish, but also your bankroll. Like there are, I bet, a ton of DFS players out there who probably went broke as good players, getting lots of second, third, 10th places. Like this is something Brian Hooper said, like the best DFS player that has ever existed probably went broke. Like just statistically, a lot of players go broke. And so this is true for best. I mean, last year I had a six, somewhere in the top 10 finish of the 555 on DraftKings Best Ball. Yeah. And I was like, this is awesome. I think it was like $60,000 or something. It was like, obviously it's very nice, but I think going into like the final plays of the second to last game, by the time that the Monday night game had played, I was blocked from first by one person specifically. So technically not true that like I could have gotten there, but very close to the end. In the final 2 games, I could have gotten there theoretically. And to come up to the top, like you said, you got to the top 1% of the Eliminator on 60 entries, which is obviously your top 1% rate would be like a 6 of an entry or whatever. So like you're outperformed, or 2, you said you had 2. So like you really outperformed your expectation of getting to that top percent and getting that in that ballpark, right? Having the success in terms of like, I think I'm playing the game right, and not getting those really good, the nut outcome financially. Like you can only stomach so many of those. Luckily, like last night, obviously like, first place was like 20,000 and second place was 10,000. Like it's not that bad of a payout. Yeah. We talk about like look at best ball, especially the early days of best ball or some of the really like poorly structured but fun DFS contests to play. Like could have been a lot worse. And like a $10,000 swing while it sucks. Like, buddy, I had $800,000 swing. So you know,
I think I know
this one's fine. Like I can accept that I'm just being salty partially as a bit.
Yeah, I mean. That is, as far as the payout structure goes, getting 10,000 as opposed to 20,000, not that bad. I've had in the UFL, I got a second place for $5,000 when first place was 20,000. That's on the more painful end of and then of course I know because you play a lot of qualifiers that's the worst when you're playing for a ticket and you play a ton of those. Like, that's just so yeah. Getting half of the first place prize, it's not the worst thing. But yeah, emotionally, just getting first versus getting second, it's just like. First place, couldn't have done anything better. I feel perfect. I feel awesome about how everything went. Second place, like, oh man, I was so close. What just needed this one ball to go in the hoop, get a touchdown, whatever. So I feel you. You got second place in a Millie Maker, right? In an MLB Millie Maker. I sometimes forget that you play all these other sports. Like, because I think of you as primarily a football guy when really
I don't care about any of those sports. Like I have maybe some casual fandom of like hockey. Like I enjoy watching hockey. I didn't watch a single game of the finals. I didn't watch a single game of like I haven't watched a game of baseball in years. Like those are all sports I don't care about.
Yeah, you did.
But DFS. But yeah, I play almost everything in DFS, and even like dabble in some of the other best ball stuff. But the only sports I have any actual like expertise or even real levels of fandom are specifically are football. And typically it's extended to all kinds of football. Like you have your XFL hat on. I have some UFL shirts in my wardrobe. So even like I love college football, maybe in a more casual sense because it's not my job to do college football stuff. But any form of football I found myself really interested in, and any other sport I just couldn't care less about.
Yeah, that's fair. I care about mostly just football and basketball. Baseball to a lesser extent. I've sort of gotten into it a little bit this year, but I'm like clearly football and basketball are like far and away my favorites. I'll watch some like MMA kind of stuff. Like if I have money on it. I don't usually watch if I don't have money on it, but like that's like super fun when you do have money on it. So I guess I do like other sports, but I feel you on having your big favorites. All right, we're gonna get into a BBM draft here momentarily, but I did tease a little bit beforehand that I don't know what to do with Kyle Williams right now because I've drafted a ton of Kyle Williams. Felt like a good click. Felt like all of the vibes were good. Everything that everybody was saying was good about Kyle Williams. And now the latest is he's 4th or 5th on the depth chart for the Patriots right now. And now people are letting him fall quite a bit. And I'm, regretting how much exposure I have at the like 120 price tag. Now that he's falling, seems to be kind of free falling right now. Where do you think? Like, what is the fair price? Is this too early to be worried about him being 4th or 5th on the depth chart right now? Or should we be pattern matching with Jalen Polk from last year? What do you think of Kyle Williams? Where should it be going?
No, I mean, I think in terms of like a 3rd round rookie, even if the depth chart is very weak, which obviously it is, like this early, we're 5 weeks out from training camp. It's not terrible to be the 4th wide receiver on the depth chart. Obviously, I would much rather prefer him to be like, yeah, it turns out he's just good in training camp and like we are good in mini camp and OTAs, to be clear. He was good in all that stuff and we just played him with the starters every snap anyways. Like that would be fun, but like that's just typically not how these things work. So, and especially with like a hardo coach like Mike Vrabel, like of course he's going to let Matt Collins play over him. And maybe even in week 1 or week 2, he lets Matt Collins play over him. And I think like that's kind of to be expected. Maybe it's the 40th percentile outcome. Whereas like given the complete lack of talent on this depth chart, you maybe should expect Kyle Williams to just be a starter from the first time he steps on the field in terms of the practice field. But I don't think I think that's like the 60th percentile outcome. I think that happens to most rookies that don't have like 1st round draft capital is their coaches, even on these garbage depth charts, still make them earn it a little bit. It should have this like on high alert the first few weeks in training camp. He's still running with the backups. Like, yeah, he's just getting all of his reps with, it's like Josh Dobbs their backup. I feel like Josh Dobbs is their backup.
I actually don't know who the Patriots backup quarterback is.
I think it's Josh Dobbs because they signed him to like a 2-year, like real good backup deal, or at least a legitimate backup deal, and then they traded Joe Milton. I think it's Dobbs. It's like a classic veteran backup. But yeah, like if it's like, it's August 20th and it's like, oh, he's gotten 6 passes from Josh Dobbs this week, I'm going to start getting nervous. But right now, I think it's fine. I think he's sort of the final wide receiver where you, as a rookie at least, where you could really see him hitting the ground running. After him, it gets into like the Jack Bech types who probably has this same issue, but with a meaningfully better depth chart, both in terms of wide receiver and more specifically target earning. Even if he can get on the field, he's not going to out-target a guy like Brock Bowers. Right. But yeah, Kyle Williams, if he's good, he could out-target someone like Hunter Henry. And I think maybe the most important thing to pattern match is that Jalen Polk played a lot of football. He just sucked so bad. The problem was not the fact that he couldn't get on the field. The problem was that he got on the field. It was a terrible experience for everyone. The problem wasn't, it's a different coaching staff, so maybe the pattern match doesn't make any sense. But if you were going to pattern match, you would say he was so incredibly untalented and they let that guy run routes still. If Kyle Williams has an ounce of talent, it won't stop him from getting on the field if you want to pattern match.
Okay. No, I don't want to pattern match because I have so much. I'm pattern matching as far as I drafted a lot of Jalen Polk last year. He got a lot of hype. He's on the same team. Obviously, adds a lot. Drafting with Drake May feels so good, feels clean. And now it feels the same way with Kyle Williams. Yeah. You can like kind of do them at like the 11, 12 turn. I don't know where they go exactly. But yeah, you can like kind of take them together in the same range. And now it's like, oh God, was that a mistake every single time I did it? All right. You made me feel a little bit safer, but maybe I will let him continue to free fall. Like maybe I don't take him right there around pick 120 or whatever, which I guess would be the end of the 10th round. But maybe let him fall to the following turn, something like there. Maybe he becomes a better pick there. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, especially if he's someone you're overweight on. I'm super overweight
Yeah.
on him just because I did a ton of pre-draft stuff, and it just seemed like he was like a really weird, like he was a fine analytics prospect. He was like a 5-year player with like 2 breakout years separated by a bunch of non-breakout years. And then you get like the Chris Sims ranking him as I think wide receiver 2 or 3. Then you get another trickle of like Ian Rappaport had some stuff called him like a likely day 2 pick or whatever. And you see all that, and I'm like, these are the guys who immediately rise up to about where Kyle Williams went. So I have a ton of them there. And I think if that is where you're at, which obviously like literally you are, but you, the Royal You listener, if you have a lot of him at any point in the summer, but if you have a lot of him and you're worried about this right now, at least really push the fall. Like this is something that like I had a ton of Jaylen Warren last year, and then he tweaks his like hammy or whatever in August. I don't remember exactly what it was. I was like, I still want to draft him. I can still see a breakout, but I'm at least going to ensure that if I'm taking on more risk, I am getting the best possible prices. I'm really going to let him fall because I already have a lot of risk in terms of the dollars allocated in terms of my percentage of drafting him.
Okay. Yep. All right. Let's get into a draft here. I'm going to throw this up here, throw a little overlay on there, and then I will jump in here. Oh no, it's not quite right. Damn. I thought I got it just perfect, and the screen is just a little bit not quite wide enough here. All right, we'll manage. All right. Going to get into I'm going to try and do it on my computer. I haven't tried it in a while. See if I can get into a BBM here. So if you want to join it, we're going to be doing a 30-second BBM draft. Will it let me? Moment of truth. Fetching your draft. I got in. All right, good. We are past the issues of not being able to sign to enter on my computer. Looks like we have 8, 9, 10. We need 2 more. So if you want to get in with us, now's the time.
So everyone was complaining that they took away which one of the clocks?
The 20-second clock. Yeah, they took away the 20-second clock, left us with only the 30-second clock.
Grow up. Buddy, you would not have made it back in the days of MFL 10s. Like, I don't know, Neil, if you even remember what MFL 10s were.
I never played MFL 10s.
They were cash game best balls. I didn't play a ton. I maybe only ever played like 15 or 20 in my lifetime. But they were like what we would call cash game best balls, whereas like you just win your league and you take everyone else's money, and maybe there was like a second place, but you just win your 12-man league. And like, man, you had to like schedule these ahead of time. You know, there were more like FFPC drafts. Like, I'm scheduled for this time or whatever. Like, next Tuesday at 8 is when I draft. And these people are like, oh my God, my fast draft is not 20 seconds. Like, grow up.
Yeah. I thought it was a little bit ridiculous. A lot of people that I have respect for were very upset about it. I was like, all right. I also never thought it was permanent. So like, I would be a little bit disappointed if it did turn out to be permanent, because I do like the 20-second clocks better, but I also think it was the right decision if you are going to get rid of one of them to get rid of the 20-second rather than the 30-second, because not at like 20 seconds is fast for some people. And also for streams and stuff, like it's just all streamers would prefer to do 30 seconds typically, at least when they have guests. So like you kind of need to have the 30-second option. The 20-second is kind of a luxury, but but I am glad it's back. I'm glad that they listened. The only downside is for people like us trying to finish a stream or trying to fill up a draft, and people are not filling it up because people want to be playing the 20 seconds instead. All right, one more. We're at 11. It used to fill these so quickly, Kyle, because it was.
I should have actually just gone in and joined one and been like, Neil, you should take this guy, and I'm just like getting my own guys.
I've noticed. I would recognize your username, right?
I tried to get on the app super early because like all of like Twitter, like my Twitter name is like Kyle Tweets Here, because like Kyle is taken, like Kyle, and even not my full last name, because my full last name's like unspellable, but like Kyle DVO. Like when I played sports, like a lot of people call me DVO. Like all variations of my name were taken, and of course on Underdog it's just Kyle. I just was the first one to get there and get Kyle.
Oh, you are. I told you I would recognize the username, and I didn't actually know that your username is Kyle. That is that's funny. Good job. Well done.
I'm like 99% sure. Yeah, okay, it is.
I feel like I've seen it before. Ship my money, special guest, never. No, I actually have not.
He literally tweeted like earlier today. He was like, does anyone think this best ball stuff just isn't that interesting? Anyone think I'm better than you?
He came on the stream last year as a favor to me. So I think he kind of enjoyed it too, but he came on several times last year. And this year I haven't bothered asking him because now he's so much busier with all the stuff going on at Endgame and at Run the Sims. But I'll probably ask him at some point. I would like to have Adam on at some time. Good to see all of you people here hanging out. What's going on? thank you for hanging out with us. Some of you in the draft with us, so that's fun. We got the 5th hole. Let's see, who do we know here? I feel like I know Het. I saw Emwald is in here. Good to see you, Emwald. Not a lot of the usuals. So there are a lot of people who are just in like all of the stream drafts. Kyle, I did make the mistake of, not really a mistake, I was kind of forced to do an evening draft, but we started right at the same time as the NBA draft tonight. So
the NBA draft tonight?
The NBA draft started at the same time as this stream. So sure some people are watching that. All right, so options now: CeeDee Lamb, Puka Nacua, Amon-Ra, CMC. Do you have a player you like here?
I would just go ADP with CeeDee Lamb. Like, in my heart of hearts, I would actually just take Puka over him, but like, I would not actually draft like that. So I'm not telling you to draft like that. Because when I'm drafting, especially in the first round, like, I'm like, most of these are really good picks. Like, there's no clear glaring, like, oh, it's a bad first round pick this year. Like, if Derrick Henry is going at the 4th overall pick, like in 2018, when like people are just like, oh man, he's going to keep getting away with it, which like they ended up being right anyways. But like, he's the number 4 overall pick. And I'm like, doesn't catch passes, clear fade. Like, oh, what? You're only telling me I'm going to get 2,000 yards and 20 touchdowns, but no catches? No thanks. But I was doing that. There's nothing even like that this year, I don't think. I think Puka, like, all of his peripherals look like Ja'Marr Chase more so than they look like even Amon-Ra St. Brown. So, like, if you told me you took him at 3rd overall, I'd be like, yeah, that's cool. I'd do that too. But I don't actually do that because I'm a coward. I just draft off ADP in the first, like, 1.1 rounds.
I think I generally do also. One of the players that I don't draft off ADP is, well, that's not really true because I'm starting to draft CMC. He's been a struggle for me as CMC has risen up boards. I'm not really high on taking him in the first round. I think I'm a little bit take locked because I was not taking him in the early 2nd round for a long time, and now I'm like, I have trouble like chasing him up the board. But I've started to a little bit when he's at like the 7 or 8 turn. So yeah, I draft like a coward also in the first round typically. I guess the one kind of exception is I do have Jefferson ahead of Barkley in my rankings, but you also see that happen enough where Jefferson goes ahead of Barkley that I can get some Barkley at the 3rd overall pick also. So yeah, it does not end up really hurting me all that much. Oh, we are on the clock. All right. So Bucky Irving, Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs.
Yeah, just take Bucky. He's like super duper awesome.
Yeah.
He's just really good.
We were 1 pick away from getting Brock Bowers. How do you feel about Brock Bowers there?
Like turbo insta smash. Like he should be going like the 1-2 turn. Like he looks very similar to Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas. You get to play him at tight end. Like, and people are like, oh, but like the ceiling is capped. I don't know, man. Is it? Like, it's like saying like, oh man, there's just no way Travis Hunter can do it. Like, maybe he can't play 2 ways, right? But like, don't you want to find out? And don't you think the reward, this is more so from an NFL perspective, but like, don't you think the reward is really good when he can play 2 ways? Like Brock Bowers, like, oh, he can't just be like a 1,500 yard receiver. I don't know. He can't be the greatest tight end prospect of all time. And he just very clearly was. Oh, well, he can't be rookie tight ends never hit. Like they would never hit. And he has not only the best rookie tight end season, but like truly one of the best tight end seasons. He was like, I think 4 catches off the tight end catch record. It's like 1,100 yards, one of the like 15 best yardage seasons. Like he could do it. He could just be a 1,500 yard player. You do kind of, I mean, more so like you need him to be like 1,100 yards. But like, yeah, he could be that guy.
So we didn't get Bowers. McBride is here back in the 2nd round if you want him, or Josh Jacobs, Tyreek Hill, Chase Brown. What are you feeling?
I think I would go Jacobs over McBride, but I don't have a strong preference. Both are fine.
All right, I'm gonna take your guy Jacobs. So if I'm drafting on my own,
guy Jacobs, I wasn't even.
I mean, he's well past ADP. Like he's a strong pick in part because what's his ADP? 25. We got him at 29. I guess not well past. He's a little bit. He has kind of
as an early round coward though. 4 picks of ADP value. I'm like, oh
nice.
Yeah, baby,
yeah,
4 picks.
It is pretty nice.
That's like 3% EV right there.
I am still like pretty McBride build. To see him go at 31. Awesome. That's got to feel pretty good. But yeah, doesn't seem to have the same upside as Bowers. Like McBride, on the one hand, it is like, well, what if he just starts scoring touchdowns? Like he already had great volume and stuff, but then it's also kind of seems like Marvin Harrison probably going to be a little bit more involved this year. So I'm not sure if we can count on quite the same volume out of McBride. So it's probably fair where he goes, like early 2nd round. I drafted a fair amount late 1st round of McBride. So now it's like now I want to, chase him when he falls a lot. I'm still like, feels pretty good to get him in the mid third round. But I'm also okay passing on him because I have a good amount.
Yeah, he's still a really good pick too. Like I could have gone either way. If you were, for whatever reason, like McBride over Jacobs, totally would have been the same way. I do agree that like his ceiling is maybe like a touch less exciting than Bowers, just in that Bowers has only ever in the history of him playing organized football shown us greatness.
Yeah.
And that sort of ascension is like, that's what, Justin Jefferson looks like. If you like told me to guess someone, or Puka Nacua, that's part of a reason, at least in the NFL, Puka Nacua is more NFL based, but in terms of like, if you told me someone breaks a lot of records at their position, I would pick guys like Puka, like Bowers over McBride. Oh, this part of the draft isn't fun.
All right, I'll throw someone in there. George Kittle, Xavier Worthy, DK Metcalf, Omari Hampton.
Just go Kittle. Kittle also like a little is probably not purely on volume that he'll ever like truly break any records. I do think it's like one of the 5 best yardage seasons ever, but it was also, I think it was like in 2020. Those seasons hardly even count anymore. But he's probably the most efficient tight end of all time. Like in terms of like yards per target, yards per route run, he's probably like the best by that measure. Like I think if he had put in Travis Kelce's shoes career arc wise, like he maybe just is the greatest tight end ever. So I'm still taking him easily in the 4th round.
One thing I struggle with, so I've drafted a ton of Kittle, like he's often my pick there. One thing I struggle with is, on the one hand, I'm like, okay, they got rid of Deebo. Like he's always been awesome when either Deebo or Ayuk misses time. And we've Deebo's gone. Ayuk is going to be out for at least 4 games, maybe 8 games. We'll see how long he's out. But then at the same time, I'm making a bet on like Jauan Jennings quite a bit, and like and Ricky Pearsall. Like, we all seem to kind of think like one of them is probably going to ascend. So like, is that even worth anything? Like that the argument of like, well, when those guys are gone, he smashes. Well, maybe that's no longer true if these other receivers are actually good. How do you feel about that? Like, do you think there's any chance that Pearsall or Jauan Jennings like kind of, mitigates that, or the opposite of mitigates, I guess, but like erases that kind of benefit for Kittle?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's possible, but Metcalf picks past ADP. Not even a question. Just value hound that easy.
You're just a value. I forget that you're just a value hound in general. I mean, because you are with your getting tickets and stuff, and then you.
I know. I am just like a real nit. Like,
yeah.
So like when you're like, let me get some takes on here. Let's get some takes on the show. I'm like, I think you should take players behind their ADP. Yeah. What a novel concept. Yeah, I mean, in terms of the 49ers, I think it's possible, but like if you got a Brandon Ayuk or Deebo type season, like let's just call it 1,300 yards from scrimmage out of Jauan or Ricky Pearsall, that has to be like a 90th percentile outcome for like a lot. Like it's not like an indictment of them. Those are extremely high bars to clear, to get like 1,400 yards, double-digit touchdowns, which is kind of what we expected one or both of Deebo, and they both did it at some point, Deebo or Ayuk to do. Like truly insane efficiency leveraged to like strong wide receiver 1 seasons. At their prices, we're not even projecting them that way. We're saying like, oh, there's a chance Ricky Pearsall breaks out. He could be nothing. His range is probably a little bit wider. And Jauan looks like a safe, but maybe not the highest upside type of bet. It's just unlikely that even in their successful seasons, they end up being as good, as much of an impediment to George Kittle as either Ayuk or Deebo were at their primes.
Yeah, I think that's generally what my assumption has been also. It's just like, and I guess they're not being drafted like Deebo or Ayuk were either. So still fair, even if you're not expecting that kind of outcome for them, we're getting them much later than we would have gotten Deebo or Ayuk. So they can.
Like last year, it was like 2nd and 3rd round Deebo and Ayuk, depending on at what point we were in the Ayuk holdout saga.
Yeah. Where are you at on the Niners receivers in general? Like, do you have what's your pecking order?
George Kittle's a great pick. Jauan's a good pick. Pearsall doesn't feel like the best pick. He was just really not that good last year. Obviously, it was fun to have him in that one game, and I drafted a bunch of them, so it was like fun to see that hit, despite not having him on any finals teams. But like ultimately, he goes through these stretches where like he's always open. He's a great target earner. Was his profile coming out of college? And was like, man, really wish he was open at all for 4 games consecutively. Like all of his stats look like garbage. What do we got here?
Deebo Samuel, Jayden Reed, Jacoby Myers, Matthew Golden.
Oh, I hate that. Not a fan.
David Montgomery.
These are all not fun picks.
Stephon
what does
Diggs?
the sidekick say? Oh, sidekick says Deebo. I'll go Deebo.
All right. This is on sim mode too, I think. Do I still? Yeah, I have it on sim mode. All right.
Sim's still in beta, right? I quite literally work with Pat, so I should know the answer to this. But I just mostly draft on mobile, so I don't use the Sidekick all that often. So anytime they're like giving us Sidekick updates, I'm like, not for me. And like quite literally, I could pull up our Discord and like change the rankings if I wanted to.
I struggle with like how much I want to follow the Sidekick. Like so I have to draft on my phone if I don't want the Sidekick to like totally push me in a direction, because it's like, yeah, this is what I want to do, but like the Sidekick says I should do that, and the Sidekick just has so much more information than I do, and it's like factoring in anything I could possibly factor in. So it's so I sometimes have to draft on my phone just to like not, because I don't want to have my entire portfolio, and it would be reasonable if you did, but like I don't want my entire portfolio to be just like based on the Sidekick. I want to have a lot of my own flavor, my own picks in there as well. So I do a mixture of Sidekick drafts and then my own on the phone.
Man, I hope Jayden Reed makes back. There's like as you start to get into this range, this is the range of the draft where I start to be less value houndy and more like there are some really good players or players who could be really good. I think, you know, you'll never believe it, but my input in the Sidekick has turned out to show my favorite players in the Sidekick at this range, Jayden Reed and Josh Downs. I would go, I mean, I could go Jayden Reed here very easily.
If you, I only put him in there because you said, I hope Jayden Reed comes back to us, but if you have a different preference.
No, I would go. I was looking at ADPs. I think Downs and Reed are both awesome clicks, and maybe Downs makes it back to us. So just easily Jayden Reed. Like, I don't know how good Jayden Reed is, but players who are day 2 picks, who are 2 yards per route run through 2 seasons, like that's a hard bar to clear for a young player, and for one who is not being gifted targets right out of the gate. In that, like a first round pick will typically get opportunities, and earning opportunities is part of being efficient, right? Like yards per route run is just how often can you earn the ball. What can you do with the ball on a like per route basis, essentially? To get to that 2 bar, which is a good bar, it's not elite, but as a young player who's not being gifted targets all the time in terms of like even his scheme targets, he had to go out at practice at some point and be like, you should be scheming me targets, as opposed to like Quentin Johnson, right? If targets were purely a talent-based statistic, Quentin Johnson would have never been targeted once as a rookie. Like he was one of the worst players in the NFL. He was much better last year, to his credit. But 2 years ago, if targets were purely a talent-based stat, he would have never earned a single target. Like Kelvin Benjamin has like one of the worst seasons I've ever seen. And it was like a wide receiver 17 season because he got so many targets. So there is some level of like the earlier your draft capital is, it's going to earn you more work early. And he doesn't have elite draft capital, but like based on how he's used, you'd be like, oh my God, they must have spent the 17th overall pick on him. Like, and they didn't. So he looks, in terms of the efficiency metrics, like a super good young player. And at this price, I can afford to be like, oh, well, what if he doesn't play in 2 wide receiver sets? Like, I don't care. Let's find out, because he's really good. And that's like that's the identical argument to Josh Downs. And Josh Downs, I think, is like even better in terms of the peripherals, but it's more so based on last year. Like Reed has his rookie season was probably better than Downs' rookie season. Downs last year was like Puka levels of target volume earning. Just it was much more on a per route. He wasn't always out there basis, and he's a little dinged up too.
So Reebs actually made this case when he was on Best Ball Breakfast with Pete, talking about those two specifically, like Downs and Jayden Reed, like how good they are for best ball specifically, because they're like the guys who are not running all the routes, like they don't do it every week. They don't get enough targets where it's like, oh, you can just count on 9 targets in a game from them consistently, and they're going to get 6 or 7 receptions, whatever. They don't have that. But
it's Jacoby Myers right next to them.
Right.
It was almost exactly sandwiched between Downs and Reed in this board.
Yeah. So they're just like, they're not going to do it, but they're going to have those big spike weeks because they are so talented. All right, we are coming back to our pick here. TJ Hawkinson is there. We have Kittle. Pittman is there. Jaylen Warren.
Fun. None of these picks are fun. What happened?
Jordan Mason. He's fun.
What? Oh no, he's not. This is get out of here. I do not care about any of these guys at all. I'll go top sidekick again, Cooper Kupp, because I never draft Cooper Kupp, but it's fine.
I only draft. See, that's one of the benefits of using the sidekick, or one of the downfalls yet to be seen. But I would never draft Cooper Kupp if not for the sidekick telling me that I should sometimes. And it's one of those things that's like, after I think about it, I'm like, yeah, I guess that's true. Like, it would not be that shocking if Cooper Kupp has like a wide receiver 2 outcome this year. And I'm like, I don't want that guy. Like Adam Thielen 2 years ago was just like a gross. I'm not taking Adam Thielen. And then
he's my example of that guy too. Is like, you know, if you can squint and see it and the price isn't crazy, he's probably a player you don't want to go zero on. Like, I'm going to be extremely light on Cooper Kupp this year, but like, there are spots where it makes sense to take him. Like right now, I think the opposite of this guy is like Javonte. Like I think he's so insanely overpriced relative to his odds of being the starter. And I would say that for Miles Sanders, if Miles Sanders was going where Javonte was. So like there is some axis of like odds of hitting and price where if you come close to that, you should give yourself a little leeway to take this player. Jaylen Warren. Oh, it says Brock Purdy for a single stack. Jaylen Warren's third player. I'll go Jaylen Warren here. I could have gone Purdy too. I don't have a strong preference, but
all right, I'm happy with. I mean, we've got some quarterback outs. Other than Jayden Reed, we have all of our quarterbacks without still. So Warren feels good there. And we can like Jaylen Warren, the type of running back that like kind of helps with the stack. Like in a pinch, you put Warren onto a Rodgers team, and it feels not great, but like it's not the worst thing in the world. Like there's at least correlation there.
Yeah, I mean, I think actually the running back quarterback stuff is still underrated. Not even on a like this can happen on a play because we're not going to get that many receiving touchdowns or long receptions, even from a player who I like in Jaylen Warren. But it's like, oh, if Rodgers is underpriced by 30 picks, he goes out and throws 29 touchdowns. Like it's not that fun of a year, but he's efficient. Like we've gotten really good seasons from like Ryan Tannehill under Arthur Smith in Tennessee or whatever. I believe he was the OC for the one really good Ryan Tannehill year. You don't even have to get that. Just like a 28 touchdown season. Like dudes, like losers throw for 28 touchdowns all the time. Like that stuff just happens every single year. If you get one of those good years, the fact that the team was moving the ball and scoring extremely well probably also portends good things for the running backs, even if the correlation on a single play does not exist in a strong sense.
Yeah, there's definite correlation from a like season-long standpoint, positive correlation. But then it's like a bonus. Like, so to me, it's like I agree with you. Like it's underrated from a season-long standpoint, getting that correlation. But then I don't know if you feel this way, but I also like it's usually not enough for me to have Michael Penix and a Tyler Rozier. That's the example I always give, like a non-pass catching running back, Michael Penix, Tyler Rozier. Like that correlation, they probably have positive season-long correlation, but like that's not enough for me with those two because when we get to week 17, they don't have the like they're going to spike together. And actually, maybe I'm wrong about that. I was listening to, it was actually I think a Reebs podcast recently about how there actually is still like people underrate even if it's not within the same play, teams just sometimes smash together in a given game. So maybe I'm still underrating.
Yeah, I think you maybe are underrating a little bit. I mean, that's like super extreme example because there's like a super target magnet wide receiver one and Algiers probably never catching passes.
Yeah.
Do we have anything stacked with Bonucci? We don't. I mean, we could obviously we can get it later, but
we could do Dak Prescott. Yeah, this is just they're saying Knicks is falling enough, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I like taking Pat Bryant. I'm a sucker for that pick. So yeah, it's Knicks. Yeah, I mean, again, value hunting Knicks, but also like second year mobile quarterback who's efficient. Like I can see how this guy takes the next step from like, oh, he was fun to like, oh, he's really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think even with the very poor correlation between like Algiers just not going to do much pass catching and Penix has other guys to throw to where like he's not even in the check down games. He's checking down to like Ray McLeod or whatever. Like if the team drops 50, you're probably getting a good score from the backfield. Obviously, he's a backup running back, continuing to depreciate the correlation. Yeah. But like if the team drops 50, it's like a crazy overtime game. Like if you told me they drop 50 right now, it's granted. It's God comes down and says the Falcons drop 50 in week 17. I'm drafting every single player on every team I can. Like I don't care if it's Ray McLeod and Michael Penix and Tyler Algier. Like the boring, not fun third wide receiver, the doesn't catch passes running back, and the non-mobile quarterback. I will just continue drafting them all because if the team scores a lot of points, multiple players are going to get there, and it could be a 300-yard, 3-touchdown game from Penix that's really good. Maybe it doesn't break the slate, but it's really good, and it could be the QB 2-3 overall and a touchdown from Algier. So the correlation is weak, but even within a game, like the correlation between same teammate players, like I think the correlation, if it was like the opposing RB2 really starts to get thin. And I think that's where people go overboard on week 17, but within the same team, the correlation in a single week is there to some degree. Maybe like, I think you're underselling it maybe a little bit, but I agree. I'm more so attacking it from the season long perspective. And it's a bonus and then some. Bonix, J.K. Dobbins, easy enough.
Oh yeah, that is nice. So I guess, but so I guess the counter to that to some extent would be like if Michael Penix is going off to that extent, he's probably bringing somebody else along with him. Like, it's not just those two going off. So then you're probably competing with teams that have Michael Penix with Darnell Mooney and or Drake London. So then it's like the correlation is there, but also I don't know. So I think I'm not saying that I don't want them. Like, I do want them on the same team, but I still typically am going to want at least one like primary pass catcher with the quarterback. Would I assume you would agree with that also though?
Of course, I would. Yeah. I would rather have that. Like, if you're telling me, like, would you rather have Drake London with Michael Penix? Like, yeah, I would. But like my team last year that finished super high in the 5-5-5 was it's classic. It's peak best ball. I get Ja'Marr Chase at whatever he was going, because obviously there was some holdout.
Last year was kind of nice.
I know he went later than that on DraftKings. They got him to like the end of the first because there was like a holdout risk. I don't think I got him that good in that draft. And then I get T Higgins, presumably like the 2-3 turner somewhere in there, and I'm like, oh, I'm the only guy after Joe Burrow. Oh, and he's gone 20 picks ahead ADP, and there he goes. And I was like, I don't know, I'll just take a bunch of quarterbacks and hope that even if the Bengals score like 40, which they quite literally did, I think it was the Broncos game. It was awesome, right? And Joe Burrow drops 35. Like, other quarterbacks can drop 35. Like, there are very few quarterback scores that are unmatchable. And the way I did it was Jayden Daniels. So like, I do think when you have a quarterback in that situation, people sort of underrate the fact that, like, yeah, things can just be weird and you can draft a good team that needs quarterback points, even if they're not correlated. I do think I wouldn't just like fire off at ADP Michael Penix, like on a team where like I have Jayden Daniels already. I'm not sure how much he's cracking it, but like this team might end up being a good example of like, we have one decent quarterback. If we just fired off like a Michael Penix and Tyler Algier because we needed points, we don't need the running back points that much. But like, if we did, like, there are scenarios to do it where it's perfectly fine. The bet does become thinner, and I think it makes you think more about how you construct your rosters. But I think people get like, oh my God, this idiot took Michael Penix 20 picks past ADP, but unstacked. Like, he needed quarterback points. What do you want him to do?
Yeah. And that's something that we see. Well, it's our picks. We should, Javonte, Tucker Kraft, Sean White, Bryce Young.
I like Kraft here. Yeah, I like Kraft here.
Sure, I like that too.
Yeah.
We did lose out on several of our quarterbacks. We still do have some out, so I'm not.
Yeah, what are our quarterback options? We should probably get those top of mind.
Yep. So we have Aaron Rodgers, Sam Darnold. That's it right now. So we have.
This may end up being, I don't know, Penix maybe is already gone, but the example of like
Penix did go.
We need quarterback points, and we do have a stack. Like, if I had all unstacked quarterbacks, just like no correlation, I'd probably feel bad leaving the draft that way.
Yeah.
Not that it's impossible to win, but I would feel like I just kind of put my home run parlay together and hope all the dudes are hitting dingers, like, in week 17. But we have one stack already, sort of. It's, working on it. We got non-pass catching running back J.K. Dobbins and Bo Nix. We'll get a Pat Bryant in there at some point. And we have, even if we don't have the quarterback, we have a strong bet on the Packers. And especially like, Love's mostly a pocket guy. Like, he can just throw for 350 and 3, and it's not the greatest fantasy game ever, but it might be for Jayden Reed.
Yeah, Jayden Reed and Tucker Kraft. True. Very, very true. So once to take Bryce Young.
Yeah, I mean,
is that
what are our options at receiver if we take Bryce Young? Like, what are we looking at?
We've got plenty of backstack options. We've got JT Sanders late. Adam Thielen should be still there. Jalen Coker.
Okay. Bryce Young. Yeah, that makes sense.
Liggett is gone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, well. Didn't want him anyways. That's what I always
didn't want him anyway. Exactly. Yeah, we've still got some options there. All right. I have not acknowledged anybody in chat for a while. There was something I wanted to touch on from a while ago, but I forget. I mean, Bowers Chase team, I just have to say that's disgusting. I hate that. I mean, I love that team. I hate that you have it.
In what contest? Because I'm not playing that.
Yeah, what contest? Let's see. I thought somebody had a question that I was going to answer a while ago, but maybe what's up, Al Boogie? This is a good question. How do you truly feel about Jeanty in early drafts on DK? He was in the 107 and now he has gone down. Thoughts? I've drafted a lot of him as he falls. Like, I didn't really love him at the 107, but I do love him at like a 1-2 turn kind of pick. How do you feel about him, Kyle?
I like they specify DK because I can just like clearly be like, yeah, I'll just take like Nico Collins over him. Nico Collins is another player. Like, you look at all like you look at his per game stats because he missed stuff last year. You look at his per route stats and like he looks very much in that, like, maybe not Ja'Marr Chase, Justin Jefferson, but that like CeeDee Lamb, maybe even better than Amon-Ra levels of like, we get 17 games from this guy and we are just cooking with gas. So like, I still want him to really get there to where I'm like, I can see how Brian Thomas doesn't take the next step to superstardom. And when that doesn't happen, Jeanty is a better pick than him. But like Nico Collins, I'm like, he's like 90% of a superstar already. Maybe he's not Ja'Marr Chase. As of right now, he's not, to be clear. But like, could I see him getting there for a 1,700-yard season where just every game he's finding the long plays? Like, it's one of the few players in the NFL right now who can consistently gain the downfield long plays. Like, it's been litigated out of the NFL by defenses so well, and yet Nico is so good at producing those that I could see someone like him, maybe Malik Neighbors, talent-wise, absolutely. Situation-wise, kind of sucks. But, I mean, Thielen here, what's Pat Bryant's ADP in terms of how – oh, no, I would just, go Pat Bryant to try and get both of them. I'd love to get both as little stacks.
I think that's a good call. And we also have Jalen Coker as an out. I don't know how you feel about Coker or JT Sanders. This could be a 3 tight end.
I think it's probably going to end up being a 3 quarterback team.
Also true.
It's going to be a 3-1 of those, but I think we're more likely to be. I mean, we have to. We spent so much more on tight end.
Yeah. No, this is feels like a 3 quarterback. I guess our quarterbacks are not like Bo Nix is pretty good. Like we got him well past ADP, but like should put up points and Bryce Young was good towards the end of last year. So like it's not a like some people do this as a quarterback build. I think that's fine, but yeah, I would prefer it as a 3 quarterback here, I think. It's we can make this work. It's things haven't gone exactly according to plan with like things falling to us, but I think it's like our players are good. I think that we're in a good spot that way, and we're making it correlate. So I feel okay about it. It was a BBM, he says. So should we try to get this draft canceled? Who can we draft here to get this draft canceled, thrown out, so that we don't?
Let's get a refund on. Yeah, we need the refund on this one.
Yeah, go spend it somewhere else.
Yeah, and I think like obviously it's super fun to just have the draft that falls to you. Like right now, it's like, can you push if you get Chase and Higgins and like Chase Brown or Trey McBride or Marvin, whoever of that grouping you want, Chase plus all the Week 17 stack members at the 2-3 turn. And then you push Joe Burrow, not to the next turn, but to the one after that, where he's falling so far beyond ADP. Like those teams are like fun and sexy, but like I don't think that means that you can't draft a weirder team. I'm fine taking Thielen here, very obviously. A weirder team where like this team kind of would love to have Pat Bryant get like an 800-yard rookie season, which is the most likely outcome. Where like as opposed to Ja'Marr Chase and T. Higgins smash, like who could have seen that coming? But at the same time, like last year, the skeleton key at quarterback was Jayden Daniels, which like obviously like in hindsight, it feels very obvious. His ADP suggests it was not very obvious. And like, but also it was him with like Terry McLaurin on the back of like strong touchdown luck, but not even great in terms of like efficiency stuff where like, if you're like, Jayden Daniels is going to pop off as a passer, 4,500 yards and you get 1,300, 1,400 from Terry McLaurin. You didn't really get that part of the bet right. And the other part was like, the second best player on that team to stack him with was the tight end, not the fun, exciting young one,
but we all drafted. Yeah,
the old decrepit one in Zach Ertz, who was just churning out these like solid 15-point games. I think he had a really good score I think he scored a touchdown in the
playoffs, right? Didn't he score like
in week 17? Because Jayden went nuts, and they I think like either got to overtime or like got a 2-point conversion to avoid something weird like that. Maybe he only got 2-point conversion, but like. Terry McLaurin makes sense, although he got there in kind of a unique way where it wasn't a yardage explosion. He wasn't super efficient relative to his own personal baseline. He was almost exactly in line with his like career yards per route run. Just scored a bunch of touchdowns, and his quarterback ran for like 800 yards. In hindsight, we're going to look at all of these drafts we do and be like, man, like I drafted a ton of Tyler Shough. It's like, man, Tyler Shough threw for 3,221, and in the 17th round with Chris Olave getting to 1,300 yards. That weird dumb stack was the one you needed because everyone's freaked out about like Chris Olave concussions or whatever. Like, it's always going to in foresight be like, I just want to draft these pretty screenshot teams. And in hindsight be like, man, my Jayden Daniels, Zach Ertz team really crushed, didn't it?
I mean, CJ Stroud a couple of years ago, it was like he was going so late and nobody was excited about their Texans teams. And then it was like, CJ Stroud and Nico Collins like absolutely smashed. Yeah, we see
and at that point, we didn't know that Nico Collins was Nico Collins.
True.
Rodgers, nothing else is compelling to me, so I think it has to be Rodgers.
Yeah. I feel like there's no way he makes back to us another round, and if we want 3 quarterbacks, we've got them all stacked up.
Yep.
I guess we don't have we only have Jaylen Warren with Rodgers.
No, Metcalf, right? Right.
Do we have Metcalf? Oh, we do have Metcalf.
Yeah.
I totally missed that. Good. Okay. Because I made the point of like, oh, we added Jaylen Warren, that gives us one more stack, and no, it didn't. It gave us an existing stack, double stack. That feels really good. I love that stack.
I know.
That feels awesome. Yeah. Thoughts on Deontay Thornton from the Raiders? He's moving up. So that's a guy. Deebo brought him up. The very first stream post draft that I did on this channel was with Derek Brown, and he brought up Deontay Thornton, like just kind of like threw out the name as though I should know who it was, and I was like, who is that? Like, at that point, I'd done over 100 drafts, and I had never seen him taken. I'd never heard of the guy, and he told me about him. Yeah, sounds like everything. He's looking good. He's running with the ones. How do you feel about Deontay Thornton?
Yeah, before the draft, how close are we to picking here?
We are the next pick. So
yeah, I'll do a Thornton spiel afterwards.
Okay.
Oh man, what are we doing here?
Calvin Austin would be fine. I like Keenan Allen. I don't know if you like that profile of large chance of a zero. Okay.
Large chance of a zero. Will Shipley. I could have also actually do Calvin Austin. Do the correlation. It was great ties in terms of guys who catch passes from guys on our team. Would have been fun with Shipley too. Oh yeah. So before the draft at Roto World, like we write like every single pick of the draft has a player blurb, and for the like, here's who this player is. Like Travis Hunter's a two-way player from Colorado or whatever. We can write that stuff before the draft and then fill in like while the draft picks are being fired off, like here's how he fits in with the Jags for Thornton. Here's how he fits in with the Raiders. And I think we ended up writing up Thornton, but I remember when I was like looking through like, here's the list of 350 players across all positions, like not just fantasy, that we're going to need, right? Like guys who are a decent chance to get drafted. So we're not scrambling to figure out who this player is as the picks are flying off.
Right.
I saw Thornton's college stats and was like, don't need to write up that guy. He's just super like part-time player. I believe Oregon and Tennessee, if I remember correctly.
No idea.
He's like, he just didn't get on the field at all, but to his credit, super, as the chat points out, super duper efficient, not just in like yards per catch, which they said too, but he had like a 3-point-something yards per route run in his final season at Tennessee. Again, it's because Tennessee runs a Mickey Mouse offense that you don't see in the NFL, and Thornton's a giant dude who runs like a 4-3 something, and they're like, go routes, buddy. Get ready to learn go routes, and not many of them, but you'll be really fun on those. But like, I could also see that player being vaguely relevant, especially specifically in best ball.
Yeah. No, that's fun. We just need a couple of those spikes where he's going in drafts. We don't need all that much. I feel like a running back is probably a good idea for us.
I'd probably go Corum over. No, I think you're right. I think running back is just, yeah, I'd go Corum over Brashard Smith as of right now.
Here's the full list. Just to give you, this is our final pick. So is it Corum over all of these guys for you?
Yeah, I think it's Corum over all those guys. I think I'm going to kind of butcher this, but I guess I'm not even going to try the stat. But the stat of Tyquan Thornton was something like guys who have reached his level of both yards after the catch and ADOT, as in like they can win deep and then continue after that, was like Jameson Williams, Quentin Johnston, and then some weird names like D. Eskridge and some like Browns player I can't remember. And there's like one other guy. But the interesting thing is JMO, Quentin Johnston, D. Eskridge, and like one of these other guys all got really good draft capital. D. Eskridge was like a 2nd or 3rd round pick when he just had no business going there. But it's like these guys who are super electric in terms of like, I don't know how much they're going to play or what their role is, but man, they are fast deep and then they're fast once they catch the ball. The NFL loves taking their shots on these guys. Like Quentin Johnston did not deserve to go in the 1st round. He was not that good of a prospect. Like I was out on him as a rookie as a prospect. And I was like, but we're overconfident in how, and he sucks. Nope. Oh, he's real bad. And he got better last year, like I said.
Yeah.
And like JMO's just had a weird start to his career. It's hard to even say what he is, but like NFL will just take shots on these special athletes. They're not special in terms of players because they don't like win that often, but NFL will take shots on them often. And it seems like even in terms of their snaps early in the year, maybe the Raiders are taking shots on him with routes in week 1.
Yeah, who knows? I made a lot of bets on Trey Tucker. So if Deontay Thornton is what I wanted Trey Tucker to be, that would be fun. I would be happy with that outcome. All right, let's read off. I'll read off the team here. I'll ask you to give your review. Keenan Allen undrafted in this one, so enough people
That's fine.
What do you think the odds are of a 0 for Keenan Allen?
Like the entire year?
Yeah.
25%, 20%.
Okay. So you do think most likely he signs somewhere at some point and puts up hopefully some fantasy points?
Yeah, most likely. I will say this is we've been floating around the dead bug theory in the Leg Up Discord, which is so bugs, when they die, you'll notice they always flip onto their back. It's like a center of gravity thing. They're just like top heavy with these sticky legs, like these sticky legs. So they flip over. I saw a YouTube video about this and I was like, that's fascinating. And one thing the good wide receivers do right before they head out of the league is the yards per route run plummets. Some teams still tries to make them a thing with routes, and they contribute nothing to the football team. That was Keenan Allen last year. DJ Moore also saw his yards per route run plummet, not to the degree that Keenan Allen did. It went down, and obviously Rome just was not efficient either. So I think it's fair to blame some of the Keenan Allen struggles on the offense. But like, man, he looked like a corpse out there. And also the fact that he's going to go from team to team to team in 3 seasons suggests the NFL thinks he might be a corpse. So he's a player who, like, prove it to me. Sign in a spot where you can still be out there, and maybe I'll draft some of you. But right now, like, the reward is most likely you get like Philadelphia Eagles Julio Jones. And I just whereas like Amari Cooper at least like was really good 2 years ago and like was useful on the Browns for a few weeks before kind of falling out of favor in Buffalo. But I can at least envision a bit more of an excuse for him. And I'm still not drafting him, but at least that guy like has a little bit less of, like I said, the dead bug thing going on, where he did the thing where you do right before you retire. Like Julio Jones did this. AJ Green did this as like a Cardinal, I think. Like a lot of players before they retire, like good players, a team takes a shot on them and they prove they're nothing and they sign again anyways.
So I'm starting to understand why when I use a sidekick, they never want me to take Keenan Allen. The sidekick is just like, he's never come up on the sidekick. And as somebody who's high on him, I'm like, well, I sometimes IKB that. Sounds like the leg up team is just completely out on Keenan Allen. I guess maybe I need to look closer. I thought he was like fine last year. Like he was at least getting efficient, at least getting volume. But you think the efficiency was that bad? Maybe I need to look a little bit closer at Keenan Allen.
Yeah, 1.36 yards per route run. Just ballparking it, that's got to be like 97th in the NFL.
Yeah, it's sorry. What's the number?
1.36.
Okay. I mean, that's not like it's not dreadful. Good.
No, it's dreadful. I will pull up what rank do you think?
Tight end numbers. Like yeah, it's okay. Fair. I think if 2 is being good, 1.36, I think it was being like fine for a tight end, I guess. Would you say that's accurate?
No, 1.3 isn't even fine for a tight end. Keenan Allen was 73rd in the NFL in yards per out run last year. All
right. Well, that's like, it's not the worst for a guy who's running a lot of routes. Like that's wide receiver 3 territory. No.
Yeah, he's like the 3rd receiver if he does not continue to decline, which he has been.
Yeah. Fair.
And also, that was a team that spent a meaningful amount on acquiring Keenan Allen. The next team might pay 1 year $6 million and have no investment in him. And by the end of the season, be like, we spent nothing on you and you suck. You're not playing anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what Julio Jones was. The Eagles were like, we'll take a flyer on Julio Jones. That'll be so fun. And then he showed up and they're like, whew, not the Julio Jones we remember. And he like never played.
Yeah, that was he had didn't he have a couple big plays, or am I misremembering? I feel like
he had like a 2 touchdown game in like week 18 or something.
I'm trying to upload Reebs's rankings right now. Reebs is here, so we will bring Reebs in. Reebs, are you ready? Give me a thumbs up if you're ready to come on. I always want to make sure of that before I bring people in. And Reebs can help us review our team. Oh, I got to change the overlay. Shoot. But while I'm doing that, Reebs, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I was listening to you guys talk a little bit about the end of Keenan Allen there, and a fun little nugget on the Bears and why all of their guys had just like their yards per out run were just kind of in the tank. If you're a big YRR aficionado, they actually were number 1 DJ Moore, Rome Odunze number 2, Keenan Allen number 4 in terms of routes run, where there wasn't even a target on the play. DJ Moore ran 156 routes last year where there wasn't even a throw on the a target available.
Yeah, he gave up on plays.
Well, I mean, yeah, when you're talking about like sacks and scrambles and stuff, it's
DJ Moore in the middle of plays like this ain't a targeted play. I'm out.
It's pretty funny when you look at some stuff like that.
So do you think Caleb's bad? Because like that is a Caleb sucks stat. That's like clearly is like some of it's scrambling too, but a lot of it is that he's like David Carr sack taking.
My one worry with Caleb is he's on the Trevor Lawrence trajectory where like he might not be like terrible, but like he also might not be like franchise turning either. And we'll see, because we're doing the Trevor Lawrence thing again this year, kind of with Liam Cohen coming over. So hopefully we're not continuing to do that. But there's definitely like red flags in Caleb's portfolio that are Caleb problems. That get passed on in year one that were Thomas Brown problems and Shane Waldron problems and offensive line problems.
Year two, like do quarterbacks often take a big leap in year two?
Yeah, I mean a lot of them, a lot of bad quarterbacks, right? Like you brought up Derek Carr, right? Like look at his rookie year, Jared Goff. Blake Bortles, the infamous Blake Bortles year two season. I think he threw 35 touchdowns in year two.
That was like one of my favorite seasons of football ever.
That was the year like when Matt Harmon like blew up, right? Because Matt Harmon was the A-Rob guy, A-Rob went nuts that year and caught all those touchdowns. I remember playing in a fantasy championship game that year. They infamously, the Jaguars played the Saints. And it was Denard Robinson versus Tim Hightower, where I had both guys. Awesome. And I started Denard Robinson, and Hightower was the dude who had like went nuts. And I was I remember just being like, my whole season came down to Denard Robinson versus Tim Hightower 1v1, and I lost it.
So I've been a little distracted. Reebs, I'm not able to get your ranks into Underdog. There was something that I probably needed to do to change the format or something, and
that's fine. It's not a big deal.
All right, you can just give us your takes as players. Hopefully you don't have players that are like not on the screen that should be on the screen. I know
Neil looked at your ranks and he was like, I can't figure out how to get him.
He was like, I'm not gonna have any part of this.
Reebs, this is our first time ever meeting. Is that right? I just like brought you onto the stream. Have we ever done a stream together? I often forget because I'm like, I've seen enough of your streams that I feel like I know you, but like I don't remember if we've ever actually done a stream together.
No, this is our first time, so I'm looking forward to it and hanging out and having a good time. Obviously, you're a sharp dude. I thought we were supposed to wear flannels, though. I thought that was the thing.
I had one. I started to sweat.
It is just too hot. It's too hot in my office.
I started sweating. I immediately took it off. Reebs, I don't know if we've ever done a stream together. I've literally met you in person. So.
Oh yeah, we've hung out. Definitely in Canton. We didn't have a ton of NBC overlap.
None. I don't think we had any.
I didn't know if you were like doing stuff like behind the scenes though, because like like Hayden.
Even then, I've thought about that. Even then, I don't think so.
Crazy. I mean, it's been a long time.
Kyle, do we overlap at all, Smoke Kyle? Like we've done streams together since.
Pretty
then.
Sure we did. I'm like, we almost never did streams together.
Yeah.
So our overlap was probably pretty light, but I feel like we did. Yeah.
I still associate you and Matt Gajeski as like being like the duo because you had like some stream that you did together regularly. So it was like I'd watch you and Gajeski together. Yeah. That's funny. But Reebs, so this is my introduction to Reebs. Nice to meet you. Thank you for coming on the stream. Excited to have you. I have consumed a good amount of your content. Obviously, very much enjoy it. Obviously, a sharp guy, and I've heard from some of my favorite analysts. Scott Barrett has said really glowing things about Reebs over the years. So really excited to get to pick your brain, talk about some of the things going on here. I asked Kyle to be in the stream. I guess I'll get your opinion on it too. How do you feel about Kyle Williams right now? Because you, on Pete's stream, you were high on Kyle Williams. Are you nervous about him being the wide receiver 4 or 5 right now in June, or do you agree with Kyle that it's like maybe not something to factor in, but maybe not like a death knell in June?
Yeah, I think until the price changes, right? Like my thoughts with all the Patriots guys has been like. Because every stream I go on, everyone likes the Patriots, but like their ADP still, like when you get into drafts, doesn't reflect it. So until I start to see like the Patriots guys start to get rich, I think that's when I'll start to like reconsider like should I pull back on these guys or not? But even though Mays climbed up a little bit, like he still isn't like a really palatable price zone, especially in that tier of quarterbacks that kind of pick your flavor zone, right? And even Diggs, right? Like even all these guys, they're just so easy to stack and so easy to get, attachment to. So I don't really mind. I can think that just, from a player perspective, he's a very good player. He got the draft capital we were looking at, and the guys he needs to leapfrog, I'm genuinely not that concerned about. But if he starts going like, I don't know, like around guys like Darnell Mooney and like, then we'll have that conversation. But if he's hanging around like wide receiver 60, that's fine still.
All right. And then the other player that I want to talk to you about, we actually drafted him on our team just now. I told Reebs that I watched his stream with Pete, and there was just a passing comment that really made me nervous because I've drafted a ton of Pat Bryant. And Reebs said on that stream, I think he's more of a 2026 guy. And I was like, what? That's no good for my best ball teams. So what do you think is the range of outcomes for Pat Bryant this year, Reebs? How do you feel about him as like I don't know, it goes in like the 16th round. We got him because we had Bo Nix on our team.
Right.
So it made a lot of sense on this team. But like in general, where do you think he should be going? Should he be going? How do you feel about him this year?
Yeah, I think that's about right. I mean, don't allow me to yuck anyone's yum with like a double-digit round pick, right? Okay. Like, if you have a player that you like in the double-digit rounds, like that already has a significant amount of downside priced in. Like, fire away. Like, I'm never going to be the dude that comes in dunk like, can't take this guy in the 17th round. I definitely still believe that, like, yeah, he is probably more of a longer game play and needs some doors open for him in the 2025 context. I mean, when you look at the Broncos, they were only middle of the league in terms of, pass rate last year and pass attempts per game. The defense is not only good, it got better on paper. Like it got better. The run game also improved on paper as well. So it's not a team I think particularly is going to have a ton of passing volume top down. They add a target earner in Evan Ingram. No matter what you believe about Evan Ingram, like he's a strong bet to be number 2 on that team in targets this year. And then guys like Devon Vele and Troy Franklin just aren't going to go away. And Sean Payton loves to rotate these guys. I think when you look at Pat Bryant too, he's also insulation from a draft pick stance, as Cortland Sutton is an unrestricted free agent after this season. There's been some talks about extending him, but I think that Pat Bryant allows them to insulate a little bit in that capacity as well. He's a big body guy, a 6'2", 200-pound guy. He's not a big like speed guy. He's not like a vertical player like Cortland Sutton can win downfield. I also have some concerns too, because like when he had to punch up against good competition at Illinois, he just ghosted. Like was absolutely against tougher competition, like did nothing against Penn State, Oregon, Michigan. Like he kind of beat up on the small guys. And for when you have a guy that's not athletic and he gets over against like the weaker competition, I start to be like, and he doesn't win against that elite competition. Right. I like throw red flags in that. And I know he doesn't get the Sean Payton backing of approval, but like Sean Payton's not exactly like without sin on some of these guys he falls in love with. Obviously Marvin Mims right now, we're wanting him to play more, but he's done like the Robert Meachams, the Devery Hendersons, he traded a whole rest of his draft for Adam Trautman one year. So like, I mean,
guess what? He traded for him again on his next team.
He did. Yeah. So I do think he's more of a longer play just because I don't think they're going to have like a ton of passing volume in terms of like elite pass volume. He's got significant target competition and 2 guys like Cortland Sutton and Evan Ingram who have earned targets in the NFL already. And then they kind of have this rotation of guys I think that just like are still going to be in the mix, the Marvin Mimses and those guys. So I think he's more of a longer play still.
Okay, so
but if Vele gets hurt or something and like he can slide into like that power slot role, there's an opportunity for him.
What's funny is I've heard this stat, and maybe I'll like slightly butcher it, but it was Pat Bryant had like 4 walk-off touchdowns in 2024. And I never put it together that because he played at Illinois, all those had to be against terrible teams. Like he wasn't walk-off touchdown against Ohio State. Like I'm assuming, so I see they have 2 overtime games in this game log, Nebraska and Purdue. He scored in both of them. That's probably 2 of them right there. Rutgers is a 1-score game with a touchdown. That's probably a 3rd one. Like, yeah, like you said, he Oregon 3 for 26, Michigan 4 for 32, Penn State 3 for 39.
It's still a cool stat though. I mean, even against bad teams, walk-off touchdowns. That's awesome.
I mean, none of us have scored a walk-off touchdown. At least I think.
False. My law school league. Very first game, I joined a football team in my law school league. Didn't get a pass thrown my way the entire game. Final play of the game, we're down. We're down by it was only touchdowns. Maybe we were tied. I don't know what the score was exactly. But first target of the game, quarterback way overthrows me, and I just sprinted out there and I stuck my arms up there and made a miraculous touchdown grab. So that was the only walk-off touchdown in my career. Law school, which is of course high competition.
I mean, there were layers of humble brags in there. First law law school league, like just layers of humble brags. Just pop
I mean,
that.
if you've gone to law school, you do not consider that to be a brag at all. Saying that you went to law school is just like the worst people. I have some very good friends from law school, but no, I don't even think of that as being a brag because I know lawyers. All right, let's go over this team and then let's get into another draft. So we have Bo Nix, Bryce Young, and Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. At running back, we have Bucky Irving, Josh Jacobs, Jaylen Warren, J.K. Dobbins, and Blake Corum. Wide receiver, CeeDee Lamb, DK Metcalf, Deebo Samuel, Jayden Reed, Cooper Kupp, Pat Bryant, Adam Thielen, and Calvin Austin. And a tight end, we have George Kittle and Tucker Kraft. So we have Bo Nix paired up with Pat Bryant and J.K. Dobbins. We don't have any Kansas City bringbacks for that one. We have Bryce Young paired up with Adam Thielen. We have Cooper Kupp as a bringback on that one. And then we have, for week 17, we have Aaron Rodgers paired up with Jaylen Warren and DK Metcalf and Pat Bryant. I don't believe we have any Cleveland players for week 17. We do not. But some strong correlation. I feel pretty good about like the talent / and/or volume at each position, the draft capital at each positional bucket. Kyle, how do you feel about our team?
Oh, I like this team a lot, and the week 17 stuff. Like, man, I gotta be honest, I could not care less. Like that's like,
not at all.
It's cool. It's fun.
Yeah.
Like
it's fun.
It's fun. It's fun to think about. But the thing that really hit home for me when I was thinking about best ball stacks is a year or two ago at this point, when like different DFS sites like Stochastic, where we worked at, started releasing public facing sims for single week DFS. Was like, you're not seeing them fire off bringbacks all the time. Like, it happened, but it wasn't something where the sims were like, this is a smash. You love having an opposite player. It happened some, maybe it happened like at a bit of a higher rate than would just be randomly filling out a player and they turn out to be in that same game, but it wasn't extreme. And that's when we know, that's when the game is in 2 hours, like we're running the sims at noon and the slate's at 1. What do you think the correlation is between who I think the team's QB1 is right now and the opposing like wide receiver 3? Just like the R squared of fantasy points between those two has to be like 0.00001. Like, I agree that like in the early rounds, I can probably predictably tell you that if like Ja'Marr Chase is having a crazy good game, the top-notch players in that game, like Trey McBride, it's probably a fun game. Like if Ja'Marr Chase scores 40, it's probably a relatively fun game. And there's some relationship between an offense on one side scoring and another team being pushed to do the same. It's not the craziest relationship. It's not the same as quarterback plus same team wide receiver, but there's some correlation there in that we know who the good players are and we can have a relatively high confidence in that. But the fact that we cannot have any degree of confidence in who the Panthers wide receiver 3 is, like, could be Adam Thielen, he could be retired by the end of the year. Could be Jalen Coker, UDFA could be a healthy scratch. Like, that stuff just happens. The correlation between that player and Sam Darnold, who I only think is like a 90% chance to be starting in week 17, just the interaction between those two fantasy entities, as we can predict in June, is so small that I think it's one of those things where we say, I'll use it as a tiebreaker. And you also just don't even do that because every fantasy analyst is like, use that as a tiebreaker. I don't know, man. Like, you can only use so many things as a tiebreaker before you just start to forget other things you said were tiebreakers.
So I feel like you just made a point, like, and you said it like exactly the point that I've made so many times about the week 17 of like, you don't even see great players doing it that often in DFS. The like when you're making the lineups the day of, it's so far out, it's so hard to know. But then at the same time, it's like Leone did a like ran the sims on it and like looked at the correlations and did see that there's at least a little bit of a bonus. So I wouldn't go as far as to say couldn't care less, but I would say it's like, yeah, I agree. It's not like the biggest thing to look at. It's something that I try to look at it just from a, like, see if we have any, but it's not like a huge factor for me. Reebs, I know you've gotten into, you're not like a volume best ball drafter, but you do a fair amount, it sounds like. How much do you go for the week 17 game correlations?
I don't really go out of my way for it, but there are just like some natural things that like will fall, like, especially on like on DraftKings. Am I allowed to say that on here? Is this like a sponsored thing? I don't know.
Not sponsored. Yeah.
But like, because a lot of times, on DraftKings, you can take Chase at 1 and McBride's always there at the turn, right? Like there's just like natural ones that make sense. But I never really just go out of my way to to add that stack. The only time I'll go out of my way is maybe like a team stack, right? Like to add the quarterback maybe a couple spots before ADP or that the tight end a couple spots for ADP, something like that, right? But I never try to press the issue. I just try to have things kind of fall to me.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to just draft what I believe is the best team, and then just hopefully the fantasy gods take the wheel and guide me to safety.
I'd say that's generally the best approach. Just trying to draft a great team. I love that.
I mean, if you would have stacked the hell out of that Giants Colts game last year, you were the sharpest man in the game last year when I think they combined for like 78 points.
There was the Browns game. I think it was 2 years ago when like Amari Cooper. Yeah, and that was like to me that was like people were going after it because it was a really easy game stack to do, like the way the ADPs lined up and stuff. And I was like, yeah, but there's no way that's the game you want. So I was like, I never drafted that game. And of course, that was the game you
discounted Joe Flacco coming in the
middle. I was going to say, the good news is if you
just
drafted
like Drew Lock,
what's
funny is because last year it was Drew Lock with the Giants.
Good point.
So who is it this year? Who's the quarterback that just magically comes out of off the couch and guides one of these teams?
Joe Flacco again.
Well, I was gonna say, like, please God, let it be Jameis. If like a Jameis Malik Neighbors Week 17 game, like I've got 2 kidneys, I would give one of them for it. You can live off of one. I would give anything to see Jameis just bombing it to Malik Neighbors. Like even if it's just one game.
What a bummer, man! So the Jameis to Neighbors stack was so short-lived on football Twitter. It was like mere hours.
We really thought it. We thought it was going to be a thing. Apologies to all the people in that draft. I know several of you were saying you would like to see your team reviewed. Check out the Flannelverse Discord. When I do solo streams, I'm very willing to look at all the teams. But when I have guests on, we got to keep things moving, so I don't have time to look at all the teams here, unfortunately. But honestly, if you go into the Flannelverse Discord, there is a Grade My Draft channel if you want people, myself, or if you want to look at other people's drafts, give them some grades. So check that out if you are interested in having your draft graded. But we need to move things along and get into another draft here. So we're going to get into another 30-second BBM. Enter now. And looks like it's working. I think it's about to work. I see Deebo in the chat also. Good to see Deebo. So Deebo, a big Jaxon Dart fan. Are you guys, how do you feel about Jaxon Dart in best ball specifically, where he's probably not starting the year, but I think a pretty good chance he ends the year? Or are you doing any Jaxon Dart teams?
Are you asking me or Kyle?
Reebs, you're first. I've talked enough. You're first for every question. You're making all the picks. Like I'm just the peanut gallery for these. I just wanted to hang out.
I do like Jaxon Dart from a dynasty stance, but I'm not just really touching the situation from a best ball stance because I just the number of starts and also the Giants have like the most miserable layout in the NFL. Has anyone looked at the Giants schedule? And I know that's not a be all end all thing, but I mean, it looks like the coaching staff is potentially just kind of like a walking DOA thing. And you hate that because we've seen a lot of these rookie quarterbacks recently. The coaching staffs just flip year one, right? Like we just talked about Caleb when I came in, and it really feels like the Giants and Jaxon Dart are in that boat too. Just because
has that happened to like 3 of the past 4 number 1 overall picks? Caleb, Trevor, Baker, Kyler didn't, but I think that's like all of them. Oh, Bryce. So 4 of the past 5.
Yeah, Bryce too. Yeah, Bryce. It's just such a miserable layout. I can see like a little bit taking like some Darius Slayton late because of the kind of the big play stuff. And I think he vibes with where both quarterbacks succeed, Russ and Dart, when Dart takes over eventually. And then outside of Neighbors, like I just am really not touching the Giants. What's funny is I do a lot of things like analytically and bring up all these stats, and we'll probably get into some too. But like I've always been like a tried and true, like I'm trying to draft dudes on good teams and teams that I believe are good. And like I'm really trying to draft. That's like where I start. So the Giants are just one of those teams I'm not excited to draft many players from.
So I don't know if you're familiar with Mathology. He's a guy, big best ball guy, who was the points leader for the regular season last year. The one year, of course, you did not get paid to be the points leader, so huge bummer there. But he crushed in terms of points. But that was a big point that he made on some podcasts I listened to that he was on. That he just draft teams from players from teams that are going to score a lot of points. It's usually going to work out pretty well for you. So we are up next with the 7 hole. Oh, Chris McCaffrey went in the 6 hole. That was one that I wanted to hear.
Someone knew I was in this draft.
Yep. Jahmyr Gibbs is available. Puka Nacua, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Who do you like here, Reebs?
I think this is Puka Nacua is the next best player I have available.
You'll never believe what we did at the beginning of last draft, right? Didn't we go Puka in that one?
No, we went CD. We thought
Oh
about
no, I told you I would have, and I was a coward. Was what we did. I
Yeah,
was like,
you
let's
cowered
drop
it
off
out.
ADP. I literally
Reebs,
said like,
I
if
know,
you
is
told
not a
me
coward.
Puka, yeah, if you told me Puka's like the number 3 overall pick, I'm like, yeah, I would take him there. If you made me, if that's the price of the brick, I'll pay it.
Yeah, no, he's pretty good. Reebs on Best Ball Breakfast with Pete Overzet. You guys took CMC at, I believe, the 2-hole, if I remember correctly. So you are, and I'm kind of like a little bit scared of CMC. Like I have not chased him up the board. What is is it just like because you've seen him score 25 fantasy points per game, you're not worried about the Achilles? You think like he's just the likeliest player to get there? Is that essentially what it comes down to?
Well, everyone that I've like that I've respected on the from like the medical side is like talked about like we know what that injury was and there should be no lingering effects into this season. Now, that doesn't mean he doesn't come without risk for that particular injury because this is still a player that's missed multiple games in 3 seasons, right? And at first I did open up the offseason and I had McCaffrey 1 because of projections and I just believe that the 49ers are undervalued in general. I just think they're going to be a high scoring team. And then like as I started to do like the 10,000 foot view and I'm starting to write up my tiers, I started to realize it was just a little bit irresponsible to have the 29-year-old who's missed double-digit games in 3 seasons that over the 23-year-old guy who is in a system like a Zach Robinson system that could be like on the Todd Gurley like type apex outcome. So I think I can have CMC 2 and still that's bullish enough to where I'll end up with him plenty.
You're gonna get a lot of CMC, yeah.
Yeah. So it's just the pass catching and the opportunity. So the 49ers don't believe their window's closed and they're going to use the hell out of Christian McCaffrey. Even when he came back from that Achilles.
We're on the clock.
Oh, this is what happens when you have me on is that
Brock Bowers, Lad McConkey, Bucky Irving.
Yeah. It's not a great spot here. I would say let's go Bowers and just lock up the elite tight end since
love it.
Like I don't love what kind of the tier breaks where we fell at like both spots.
Yeah, it is like
London. It's funny, we're 1 pick off of like starts I love. Like 1 pick, like I love London. Like I've been smashing London. He goes 1 pick, right? And we talked about CMC as we were talking about it. So
so I'm also a little bit surprised. So you don't have Jahmyr Gibbs in that top tier.
I think the problem with Jahmyr Gibbs is one, from a top-down stance, the Lions may be a little rich this year. I mean, this is a team that scored 18 touchdowns over expectation last year. You've got a pocket passer coming off of a career year. Those have typically been fades in the history of fantasy football. They lose Ben Johnson. They lose Frank Ragnow. And when you look at Gibbs anyways, his splits with and without David Montgomery, it's hard for him to be the RB1 over a full season with David Montgomery playing. Now the games that David Montgomery misses, he's the best player in fantasy football. So I just think when you look at the like breaking like ties, which some person said in the tier is not like taking a firm stance. But yeah, I think when you look at the layout of where I'm trying to win a tournament, a large field tournament, it's easier for me to say I'm all in on Christian McCaffrey smashing than I am Jahmyr Gibbs because he needs a couple dominoes to fall. Christian McCaffrey just needs to be on he just needs to be on the field.
That is the other thing. I've said it before. Like if I knew Christian McCaffrey was going to be played weeks 15 through 17, I would smash him. Like I think it's really just like
there's just no. I don't think how you couldn't see him as the 101.
Yeah, it's just like I'm so nervous because he feels like he's just hurt all the time, but it is like it's always different injuries. It's not like it's the same injury over and over, so it's not like it's really a nagging thing. Interesting point from Deebo says Kittle had same issue until he got treatment. Google it.
Yeah, no one brings it up because the other stuff. But the 49ers in general are just an undervalued team from a top down. Even if you don't like McCaffrey, then you should be taking Garendo. And then you've got Kittle and Purdy and Juwan Jennings and Ricky Pearsall. The only guy
we're back on the clock.
Is Brandon Ayuk.
Chase Brown, Terry McLaurin.
Yeah, I think this is just a Chase Brown at the top, the clear guy for volume and opportunity in a good offense, right?
Yep.
Reebs, what 49ers receivers are you drafting? Neil asked me, and he was like, rank them. And I was like, what in the order of ADP? I like Kittle the best, and Juwan's in the middle, and Ricky Pearsall's at the end. Because, like I said before, I'm a coward. So, what are we? Oh, I didn't even mention Ayuk. That's the one thing I didn't mention. So, what are you doing with them? I totally forgot about that. What are you doing with them? Because, like I said, I couldn't give like a strong take other than like, I love Kittle. I like Juwan. Ricky feels like he probably isn't that good at football, honestly.
I mean, he played really well the when he was finally healthy those last couple weeks of the season. He's a year 2 wide receiver that was drafted in the first round on a Kyle Shanahan team. Like it's getting drafted in the 70s. I mean, there's worse. We've all made worse picks, right? Like the chasing the ghost. I do like Jennings the most of the receivers because he was just so good in everything they asked him to do. I mean, when he was on the field last year, snaps, Jauan Jennings was on the field. He had 32% of the team targets. It was 7th in the NFL. I feel like he's a smash where he's going right now. Ayuk, I'm out on for a couple of reasons. One is that I don't like drafting players that are already hurt. Like, this is why I wasn't drafting CMC at the end of last year. Like this time I was last year, but when we got to training camp, it's like, well, he's already hurt. I have a big rule, like injury optimism. We've all been burned many times by it, right? Like we've all been down this road before. So if Ayuk beats me, he's going to beat me. But the fact that he's already hurt, we don't know when he's going to play. Also, there's some ominous stuff going on with Brandon Ayuk in the organization that like none of us know because we're not there behind closed doors. Like I just feel like I'm going to let someone else deal with it. I'm just gonna.
I know for sure Kyle Shanahan does not hate Jauan Jennings. He loves Jauan Jennings. I honestly think Kyle Shanahan might hate Brandon Ayuk. He fought him over what shorts he was wearing last year.
I forgot about that. There was also was it 3 years ago now? Like his second season where he came in. Yeah, completely dog awesome. It was like he was like so good. Everybody thought he was.
That was after his rookie year.
Yeah. It was
heading into the second year that he was like getting high. Like obviously he was getting.
That was the Deebo year. That's when Deebo went nuts that year.
All right, we are up next. So we have Chase Brown, Puka Nacua, and Brock Bowers so far. DJ Moore is here, Xavier Worthy, DK Metcalf, Omari and Hampton. What do we think, Reebs?
Yeah, I think in this spot, I'd be looking at either, James. I don't love James Cook. We already have the running backs. I think we pass. Devontae Smith's the next highest guy on my board.
Sure.
For a couple of reasons. I think the Eagles pass game is also undervalued. That includes AJ Brown, which feels weird because he's a second round pick. But I mean, this is a player that had nearly 1,500 yards his first 2 seasons with the Eagles. The Eagles are going to throw a lot more this year. You look at what happened to them last year. Jalen Hurts threw 360 passes last year. Like that's not going to happen again. He was actually 14th in the NFL in first half dropbacks, and then dead last in the NFL in second half dropbacks. Because he's never going to be a 600. You're never going to get like a Jalen Hurts 600 pass attempt season. But I mean, you look at he threw over 500 pass attempts the year before. AJ Brown had 2.5 targets per game in the second half of games last year. But in the first half of games, he was wide receiver 5 in targets per game. They were just smoking teams. They have the largest strength of schedule adjustment for our measurements from last year to this year. I mean, they're still going to be a good team. They're just going to get pushed more. So I think the Eagles in general are undervalued from a passing game stance. Jalen Hurts is sliding to QB5 now. Dude, he's been basically passed by Burrow.
Money.
It's insane, yeah.
And that might just be for stacking purposes, right? Like you might have the Chase. You might have the Chase and Higgins drafters maybe pushing Burrow a little bit more than you get them. The Eagles guys. But yeah, I mean, I'm all in on the Eagles passing game being undervalued. That includes Goddard too.
Yeah, I have a ton of I don't even like go on my way to get Goddard. He just falls like too far. Like he's just like you can get him at like pick 140 pretty consistently. It just always feels like, all right, I need a tight end. That seems like a really good bet here. So
and you do a lot more drafts than I do. Where have you found yourself been going at tight end? Because I think I'm going to play best ball a little bit differently than redraft. But obviously at tight end, we have this tier of 3 guys. I think Kittle should be mentioned with the other 2. Yeah. Kittle had the most points per game out of the 3 guys last year already. And, Kittle's history, he's been such a hyper efficient player. And I bring up like I'm in on the 49ers. So how have you been playing, the elite tight ends from a best ball stance? Because you've obviously done like hundreds more of these drafts than me.
I'll answer that in a second. First, we are on the clock. Jalen Hurts is available, and we have Devontae Smith, and it's 5.7. We're at pick 55.
Yeah, I'm in with that.
This is like a layup. This is LeBron's wing.
That's my feeling also. Okay, good.
And we have elite onesies off the rip, so you can kind of use that to piggyback into my leading question.
So I'm going to preface this by saying that I always get tight end wrong because I always think tight ends are going to be so much better this year than they were last year. Like this year, like listen to all the hype. I feel like every offseason, every coach is like, yes, this tight end is amazing. He's going to take a big leap this year, and I always believe them, and I'm trying not to fall for it anymore. So I am largely either I'm taking one of the top 3. I love Bowers in like the mid-second round. I'm actually a big fan of getting him where we got him. Now that McBride is falling to the mid third round, I'm loving that. I click that quite a bit. And then Kittle, I love also. So I'm kind of big 3, or usually I'll wait then. Like I don't go after Hawkinson that much anymore. I was for a while because I really like JJ McCarthy, but I haven't been doing that as much recently. Don't do a ton of like Laporta. So it's usually one of those 3, or like wait, and then you can get like Mark Andrews pretty late, feels pretty good. Evan Ingram. So yeah, I honestly don't have a great answer because I like a lot of tight ends. Like because I feel like Mark Andrews is a pretty good value where he's going. I feel like Jonnu Smith is a pretty good value. Evan Ingram, they all seem pretty good to me. So I'm bad at evaluating the tight end position is essentially what I'm saying. I mix it up based on my stacks. Which quarterbacks do I have? Do I need to get a quarterback? It varies from week to week. But I do end up with a lot of Dallas Goedert, Jake Ferguson, kind of that range. Just kind of ends up being like a default. Like, all right, I need a tight end at this point. They feel really good clicks right there.
Rich and I, as the old heads of like season long, and Rich, to be clear, has been doing this for like 10 years longer than I have, but I'd say I've probably been doing this a little longer than you have, Neil. You saying I'm buying into this breakout tight end is the all-time first time meme. Like, oh, is your first time around the block on this one?
We are on the clock again. Kenneth Walker, Chris Olave, Travion Henderson, David Montgomery. I'll sort by ADP. It's Kenneth Walker, Travion Henderson, James Conner, Chris Olave, Deebo Samuel.
Yeah, I think Walker's the best pick here, but I'm worried we're going to fall behind at receiver like we already have because we did 2 onesies. So, I mean, do we try to do are we going to try to do the Geno double?
Do you want to love it? Oh, Jacoby?
Do we try to like force a Geno double, or do we just, take?
Let's do it.
That's all right. All right.
And we took Jalen Hurts early, so like we can afford to wait on Geno. That feels good. I like it.
I'm not, like I said, I think the best player that there was Kenneth Walker, but we're with us going tight end and quarterback already through 5 rounds, and the way these underdog drafts go.
Yeah, I think I would have said screw those underdog drafters. Like, I mean, obviously, like last year was an insane anomaly in terms of running back injury rates not being bad. Like, I think maybe the zero RB bros kind of at some point overstepped their bounds and like, man, every running back ever gets injured all the time, and receivers, bad things don't happen to the players I draft. But it didn't, like, it was the complete opposite of that. Like, they got a like 10th percentile outcome in terms of receivers getting injured versus running backs. But to some degree, like, I was kind of with Hribar there. We did this with the receiver avalanche last year. We're like, man, if you don't get if you don't get Tyler Lockett, you've fallen behind. Like, you fell behind a long time ago. And like, I mean, I don't know why this came up to me recently, but like, oh, the phrase like digging yourself out of the hole, like, oh yeah, I dug myself out of that hole. No, the phrase is meant to be you did not get out of the hole. You don't dig yourself out of a hole. The phrase literally means like you cannot get out by doing that thing. You do not dig out of a hole, you would climb out of it. And that was what people did last year. Like, dug myself out of a hole with Tyler Lockett. Like, you dug your grave, man. You got to 6 feet doing that. And I would be fine, with being like, Ken Walker just projects to score a lot more points there, and it's okay to get behind at receiver when you cannot get ahead with Jacoby Myers. It's like, I like Jacoby Myers, so it's a fine pick. But
Ken Walker sliding a little bit with this. We just don't really know what's going on with the ankle. But I mean, the coaching upgrade. I was a big Clint Kubiak to the Saints guy last year, and I was counting my best ball mania money after 2 weeks, and unfortunately that was all gone. You'll get paid out after 2 weeks. But I mean, you look at his outside zone splits, which Clint Kubiak in that the Shanahan system is always run. I mean, almost a full yard per carry more on outside zone for Kenneth Walker, because he wants to freelance a little bit. Like we talk about, like Caleb Johnson coming in the league is like this too. Like Caleb Johnson's a really big dude, but he plays like a smaller running back because he wants to freelance and hit a home run, right? Like Kenneth Walker.
We're on the clock. Sorry.
Did James Conner go?
James Conner went. We have David Montgomery still here. If you like David Montgomery, we could go Ricky Pearsall, Jayden Reed, Tony Pollard.
Oh no, we can take any guys. Deebo, Pearsall, Jayden Reed. I'm in with all these guys.
Who do you like, Kyle?
Probably Deebo, right?
Deebo, if you can get it. Oh, you're not getting it.
Oh, we got it.
Oh, look at those nimble fingers. That was purely an ADP play. I don't even love Deebo.
Fun stat. Jaden Daniels only threw 3 touchdowns last year where the receiver ran the ball in the end zone. Only ahead of Cooper Rush and Trevor Lawrence. last year
No
for
way.
guys that qualified. Why do you think they wanted a guy like this is like the one
I was
spot
about to ask you, what is the action item there? Because I'm like having to think like, so if he did,
this is the
wasn't in
one
the end
spot
zone-
Deebo, I think, could leave a Shanahan offense and be like, yep, that
I
fit
agree.
still makes sense for him to hold some like and retain being the same player. Because Deebo's not winning. He's not running a 15-yard dig route and winning. That's not his game. He's going to an offense where Jaden Daniels was 5th in the NFL in screen passes, right? He was 7th in rate of slants thrown. Like and they needed a yak guy. They needed a yak guy bad. So he fits in seamlessly with Terry McLaurin.
Do you think he hurts Austin Eckler at all? Like, because I've been super high on Eckler on DraftKings in particular, like around pick 150 where he goes. I'm wondering if I should be concerned about that.
Maybe a little bit, but one thing that best ball does, and a lot of people I think get wrong because we fall in love with like spike week players, is a lot of people think like best ball only makes like a guy like Alec Pierce good. But like what best ball really enhances, and I've talked this on a couple of shows if you've tuned in before, like I'm going to repeat something I said, but like it really makes slot wide receivers and the receiving only running backs really good. Because you just soak up the weeks that they hit. Like you're never going to start Justice Hill in your season long league, but I can guarantee you, we can look at it right now. Dude, Justice Hill's going to have like 3 or 4 games that matter, and they're going to pop into your lineup in best ball. And like these slot receivers that get faded out in these season long leagues because you're going to want to bench them, the Jayden Reeds, the Josh Downs, the Khalil Shakirs, because they just don't get a lot of consistent target volume because they don't play in 1 to 2 wide receiver sets. It makes these guys better because you don't have to hem and haul at your lineup. Like you just soak up that the weeks they hit. The Austin Ecklers. We don't have a lot of receiving only backs anymore. Like that.
What happened to that, man? That was the bedrock of RotoViz 2015.
Where's
like
Naheem Hines?
James White?
Where's James White? But best ball makes those guys better.
Definitely, yeah. Particularly because we have PPR, half PPR, everything is you get points for it. Aaron Jones fallen a little bit. We've got Darnell Mooney, TJ Hawkinson, Michael Pittman, Jaylen Warren.
Oh, is this us again?
Mm-hmm. This is us again.
I'd be fine with Aaron Jones here. I think this is a good spot for Aaron Jones.
I'm good with that. Yeah.
Just good offense, bet on the offense. Obviously he's probably going to concede some touchdowns to Jordan Mason and opportunities. But he faded down the stretch last season because Ty Chandler was so bad. He had to take on the largest workload of his career. Now we're going to see Aaron Jones we've already seen him be an efficient player. He's had over 5 yards per touch every year of his career. Yeah.
Last year they brought in Cam Akers, and like Cam Akers was stealing touches late from Aaron Jones. They really did not want to give him that much work last year. So that's, I guess, both a concern, but also like, I don't know, I want to keep him fresh, stay healthy, like get consistent production from Aaron Jones would be awesome.
And he's going to be another guy that's going to be better in kind of the best ball format than your season long leagues too. Even same thing with Jordan Mason, right? Like, cause you're just going to get the weeks Jordan Mason falls in the end zone. You're just he might make your lineup depending on your build.
Yeah. Good to see BP Colonna here says, click the stream. The first place I see is Fat Deebo. I appreciate you bringing down the age demographic of my streams, Parker, because most of my streams like 45 to 55 is like my biggest age range. So getting a 23-year-old here, 22-year-old, a young guy in here. Really,
but Aaron Jones,
really
one pick before Jordan Mason feels just wrong. It's like Jordan. I like Jordan Mason. I like him on this format.
See, this is one of my hottest takes. Is I think I would rank Jordan Mason ahead of Aaron Jones.
Really?
Just because I think he's going to get. It just a straight up. He's going to get the goal line work. Is the biggest bit of it. Like they've talked about, like they want to use him for the goal line work. And then you just like look at his stats from last year. It's like his explosive run rate was like top 3, I think, of players with at least 51 rushes.
That 51 number must have cut out 3 guys. There were a bunch of guys at 50.
it cut out. I think it only cut out 1 or 2. I think there was actually one right at over 50. So I think there was one right at 50. Yeah.
The classic. I've won like 7 of my last 8 bets. Like you went 0 of 3 if you counted 10.
Fair. No, that's one of the settings on fantasy points. Is all right. We are about to be on the clock. So we have 1, 2, 4, 1 currently. Jaden Higgins is he available? Jaylen Warren. By ADP, it's Travis Kelce, Jaden Higgins, Jaylen Warren, Brock Purdy. We don't have Kittle. ETN, Mark Andrews, Evan Ingram. What do we like here?
Yeah, I think it's probably are we allowed to take Jaylen Warren on 2 teams?
Big time. Yeah, we are.
I think Jaylen Warren has a lot of ways to win. Obviously it's the same argument probably we're making, right? Aaron Jones versus Jordan Mason. To me, Caleb Johnson has one way to like win, and it's to score a lot of touchdowns. Like really, probably pretty much. What if the Steelers aren't good enough to stay in game scripts where that matters, right? Or aren't conducive enough to put him in, then Jaylen Warren finds the field more than him. What if Jaylen Warren just continues to be an Aaron Jones-like player, right? And continues to ascend and get more work. Like that exists in the range of outcomes. There's a lot of outs, I still think, for Jaylen Warren, where a lot of people look at the surface and say it's just going to be Najee, Jaylen Warren again, like the repeat, like where just isolate one or the other.
Also, we had Najee and Jaylen Warren 2 years ago, and we got like 1,100 yards from scrimmage from Jaylen Warren. Like, you can just get there with Caleb still being good and still getting a lot of work, because Jaylen Warren's like, I mean, maybe he's not anymore. Maybe last year was who he truly was.
I mean, he was just hurt last year, though.
Yeah,
he was
like
banged up.
Yeah, he was just like constantly banged up too. Like, as long as he comes back from that, which maybe he doesn't, I don't know. But like, if he comes back from that, we saw true committee, just backup, essentially, like highly used backup Jaylen Warren 2 years ago, and it totally crushes at the price we're paying right now.
I want to get back to Kyle just laughing straight at me about my Jordan Mason over Aaron Jones. Kyle, you're not a fan of the hot take?
No, Rich didn't say like good for you or like I hope you have fun with that or something. I don't know. Rich made some comment or something.
That's funny. Yeah.
No, I mean,
I wasn't laughing at you, Neil. I was laughing at Rich laughing at you.
That's fair.
My only pushback on it is you're taking a small sample we know to be limited player, Jordan Mason, versus a player that we know is like a genuinely really good player.
Also, the sample is in the best or maybe second best rushing system in the NFL that can just like churn out total like dorks into really efficient guys.
That is my big concern with looking at those numbers, because it was like, he only had like 151 rushes or something on the year. So it was like, pretty small sample, but he was good in the sample. I think my bigger thing is concern with Aaron Jones, who we just took, and I'm happy to get him sometimes. All right, let's Kyle Williams at 113 here. All right, so we have Najee Harris, Jonnu Smith, Evan Ingram.
I think this is Christian Kirk all the way. Like he's by far my best receiver available right now.
All right, let's do it.
Another guy that is just better in this format because he's probably going to play in 3 wide receiver sets. Remember, Debro's talked about this too, is that, you're taking all the Texans receivers, look where they were all going last year versus this year. And Kirk's a proven good player. And he does not just like typically, he can just be a slot only player, but there's also a chance he's more in the Tank Dell role than people are assuming, because he can win vertically as well. He's not just this guy that catches like dump offs. Like he can win downfield. So I mean, I've been just hammering Kirk in these early best ball drafts. When we get to August, I don't know if I'll be like all the way in, because again, you have to play the lineup game probably with him. Like there'll be weeks where he has 6 targets, 4 targets, 5 targets. You're like, I'm gonna take him on my lineup, and then I'll have a 2 touchdown game, and you'll be like, God damn it, like I did that. But like on these types of teams, like I love getting him in this type of spot. And even though I did say like I'm for Kyle Williams where he goes, like usually, like I'm still taking Kirk over Kyle Williams pretty easily.
Oh yeah. Kirk and Higgins, too damn cheap, Deebo says. Deebo, what about Trey Harris? Deebo very much got me in on Trey Harris. How are you guys feeling about? I'll ask Reebs, since you are the latest guest to join. How do you feel about Trey Harris as a pick?
I think his ADP is too high. I think he's probably going to be more in the Josh Palmer role. I think, I know people want Quentin Johnson to go away, and people hate this dude. I promise you he's not just going away. And you could say, well, maybe down the season he leapfrogs him, and that exists in the range of outcomes. But people are already drafting Trey Harris like he's starting in like 2 wide receiver sets, and I'm not fully on board with that yet. I don't know if I believe that. I also believe people are taking the wrong signal from the Chargers and what happened the back half of last year, because when their pass rate over expectation spiked, remember their backfield tanked. They could not run the ball the back half of the year, and they had to put the ball in Herbert's hands. And look at the way their season ended. They lost in the playoffs where Justin Herbert threw 4 interceptions, and they ran the ball 18 times for 50 yards. That's not what Jim Harbaugh and Greg Roman want to do. And what did they do in the offseason? Free agency opens up. They throw the bag at Mekhi Becton. They bring in Najee, and they use a 1st-round pick on Marion Hampton. Like, this is a team that still very much inherently, I believe, top down from a mindset stance, wants to run the football.
Interesting. So you don't think the volume is going to be there. So are you down on Herbert a little bit too?
Yeah, I'm a little bit down on the market on Herbert, but I don't have a problem with that, like, because it's just a big glom of quarterbacks. Like, if you do like Herbert, like, I get it. Like, I'm not going to really push back because I think that that quarterback tier is largely flat.
Oh, so speaking of that flat quarterback tier, we have stack with CJ Stroud now with Christian Kirk if we want to do that, or we can push it. We could do.
No, I think we do. We do Goddard, right?
Oh, Goddard here. Where is Goddard? We got, yeah, good.
Was Goddard just like super low in your rankings? He was like relatively. What was his ADP?
He is 142. So we did reach a little bit on Goddard there. But yeah, we got him strong. Now we have Brock Bowers and Dallas.
And the reason I wanted to push Goddard there is not just for the stack with Hurts, but obviously it's a nice bonus. It's that because we fell behind at receiver a little bit, by taking 2 tight ends we believe in, there are going to be weeks now a tight end fills a flex for us.
Absolutely. That's a point. So I had Sacrilegious on last week, 2 weeks ago. I forgot when I had it. Recently. We talked about, so the sidekick, they have Sims now, and that's one of the things that the Sims keep spitting out from the sidekick from Legendary Upside. Kyle also does work with Legendary Upside. But one of the things the Sims keep showing us over and over is that, like, yeah, the tight end really, like, can be pretty valuable. And it actually puts you on 3 tight end builds often in these 18-round drafts where it's like you already have 2 like pretty strong tight end room. It'll still often give you a 3rd tight end late in the draft because so often it is like, yeah, just Theo Johnson is more likely to fill your flex than whatever wide receiver is there or whatever.
I was going to say that too. Hayden has talked about this too. Is like they just project for more points. Like Cade Otton is going to be out there for every single snap, and like he's definitely not good at football, but he is just going to be out there more often than the wide receiver 6 we're drafting. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So we are on the clock again. Javonte Williams is available. He's the top by ADP. We've got Tyler Warren.
How far do we go push the Geno thing? How far can we push it?
We could just do it now. No, unless you like somebody else better. Who do you want? Javonte?
I would say Ray Davis.
Oh, we got Geno.
Oh, we did. Well, that's fine. We'll force the stack.
I put him in there because I was like,
we still might get Ray Davis, which is fine unless someone's in here.
There are worse players to auto onto than a player we were clearly going to draft at some point, anyways. So
yeah,
right. But I mean, Ray Davis is fine. Hollywood's fine still too.
I did not realize that Ray Davis has moved up this far to pick 135. For a while, he was like a pick 155, like really strong click to me. I thought for sure we'd be able to get him on the next turn, or not for sure, but like fairly likely. And now it's not as likely, unfortunately. But maybe we can find another running back gem that you like at the next turn.
Nope, there's only one Ray Davis.
One Ray Davis. Well, you almost had us take James Cook, so you're believing in the Bills as the Bills running game this year.
I mean, it's just the Bills in general, right? Like this is the team that is consistently, even if you believe they're going to regress a little bit, that they're still going to score just a ton of touchdowns. And Joe Brady has just been so run heavy, since we've seen him at every stop. So it's just another thing. Just keep betting on like that ground game, and you're betting against a guy like James Cook, who already has maybe a little bit of contractual schism if he gets hurt. Yeah. We've seen the one game he missed last year. Ray Davis absolutely went nuts, and that was with sharing all 3rd downs with Ty Johnson.
Yeah. How do we feel about Trey Benson? It sounds like they're really planning on having like a split backfield this year, which I thought was going to happen last year. Didn't happen. Do you think it's a real deal? Are they going to be doing?
I didn't love Trey Benson as a prospect, as a player, which is the problem. And the thing is, James Conner's still really damn good. So I still think you need an injury, which you could, like, betting on a James Conner injury is there's far worse things you could do in terms of probability. But he's not my favorite pick. I would say if we're going to take like one of these handcuffed dudes, if it wasn't like a Ray Davis, it would be probably Garendo, like the inverse of what we talked about. If we didn't take CMC, I have no problem with you brought up like the Eckler. Like there's going to be spike weeks for Eckler. In terms of just what dude, Eckler do you realize he led all running backs in yards per touch last year? And obviously it's because he didn't have like the full like handoffs.
It was obviously a scam, but he'll probably run the scam again.
Yeah, he's gonna run the scam again.
Yeah, he probably will.
So so that
the problem is my problem with Eckler is I also really like Jacory Croskey-Merritt, and like that's my other like concern. like with him. Like Jacory Croskey-Merritt's like one of my auto like round 17, round 18 guys. Like almost
after we pick, I need more on this. Hold on.
I threw a bunch of running backs into the queue to get your preference here. Who do you like of this group, Reebs? I mean, you can pick someone else.
Probably also. Blue the most out of those guys, just because there's really poor man squint to see like De'Von Achane 2 years ago qualities of the situation. It's very really poor man's, but like
it is impoverished.
Does
like fourth string college running back.
I mean, you look at Achane, he had really great like yards after contact numbers for a speed small guy. And that's the same thing Blue has. He just doesn't have the sample size rushing. Blue's problem is that he's every time he's been touched, he's fumbled in college. And like
he just goes down.
If you do that shit in the NFL, like
he just doesn't hit home runs at a high rate too. Like if you get him in open space, he can do that. But in terms of like the percentage of his runs that went long in college, it's like shockingly poor for a 4.29 guy. Like he just. I don't know, man.
He lines up at receiver. He's the big plus I think that he brings in your pass game stuff.
All right, he's legit good at that.
Kyle already said he wants to hear the JCM love. Deebo very much in. Hulk Smash Potato says he wants to hear. Let's hear the what's the case for?
Yeah, if this dude was allowed to play football last year, he would have been drafted in the 4th round. In this draft.
Can you? I assume Neil. I assume you don't know the Jacory Croskey-Merritt.
I don't.
Eligibility snafu.
No,
go ahead, Reebs, if you know it.
No, go ahead. You lay it out for him.
So I believe, if I remember correctly, he redshirted in like a previous year. And after he redshirted, he's done for the year, and it gives you another year of eligibility. Someone else took his jersey number. He's done playing football. I assume a friend is like, can I wear 32? I don't know what number it was. And then so the NCAA goes back and looks at the box scores of that year and sees that the number 32 was playing later in the year, and they like rescind his red shirt because supposedly I don't actually know if this is true. Obviously, like this would be the funniest scam to get an extra year of college eligibility that didn't work. But then the NCAA sees that a guy wearing his jersey, which they think is him, is playing, and they're like, wait, you got a red shirt that you shouldn't have had. And so they snap rescind his eligibility 1 game into his final season. Is that like right, Reebs? That's like roughly the story.
Yeah, that's and insane. so he wasn't allowed to play. He declares the NFL draft. They actually invite him to the East-West Shrine Bowl game.
Oh, that's right.
And the dude wins the MVP of the game. He has 11 carries. He has 2 touchdowns. Yeah. He has 97 yards. I guarantee you too, when we get these camps and he's running next to Brian Robinson and Eckler, like he's going to pop. Like he's going to pop to the coaching staff.
We're on the clock again. Just have to. So Eckler is still here. Tyler Algier, Dante Thornton. If we want to add to that stack,
we could wait on him though, right? What round are we? 14?
Probably. He's been really screaming up boards, but yeah, we can try.
We can. What's the receivers look like? What's the rest of the receivers look like?
Pat Bryant is there. Adam Thielen, Wan'Dale Robinson, Demario Douglas.
All these dudes are terrible.
Who do you like?
Running back season.
Austin Eckler. It is. we didn't make a pick, so it goes to Eckler.
Now we can't.
JCM's kind of like the opposite of an.
We can still do JCM with Eckler.
Yeah, like JCM, I think in his one good season at Arizona, like his one good FBS season, caught like 6 or 9 passes. Like he just will not be doing that. So like it would be fun if he is as electric on the ground as I think he could be if he takes over the Brian Robinson.
And Brian Robinson was terrible the back half of year last year. He was terrible. And I know he got banged up, but like he's just like a guy like that is like a ham and egger, right? Like he's a guy that you always feel like you can upgrade on.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, that has been part of the argument for Austin Eckler has been like, well, was he bad enough that Eckler could just eat into his role a little bit more?
But I think the concussion stuff with Eckler probably scared them off of that probably last year, like really extending him.
And Eckler was in like turbo decline with the Chargers. Like he was looking like out of the league levels of trajectory. And I think the role.
Remember he had that week 1. Remember that year though, he was amazing week 1 and then hurt his ankle.
Yeah.
And then like was
his
never
peripherals the year before that, which I think was like his legendary season. His rushing stuff already started to like look good, not great.
He's never been like a great rusher though. Eckler, the dirty story with him, even the year he scored, and was like his rushing stuff was bad. Their offensive line wasn't good, but he scored 20 touchdowns. What? Your efficiency could do whatever it wants when you score 20 touchdowns.
Yeah, and so I think part of what's going on is like the lack of touches and the designed work is why he can lead the NFL in yards per touch, and I think it would be like relatively detrimental to a what is he, probably like 30 or 31-year-old back who's not giant, but does have a lot of tread on his tires to take the Brian Robinson ham and egg work. Like I think that would be JCM work or a Chris Rodriguez or whoever if JCM doesn't end up being good.
All right, we are about to be on the clock again. Dante Thornton makes it back to us.
All right, do we do it? I mean, do it. I mean, is it like it's definitely like if you're overstacking a Raiders passing game, like who
It's
amongst
fun.
us?
I think it's fun. Yeah.
All right. Let's listen for science.
For science, we're
For
doing
science.
Dante Thornton. Get our guy.
He's literally just Jalen Hyatt all over again, but.
so you're not a huge believer.
Okay. No, I think he could be Martavis Bryant, like just big, tall, and like fast, and just not good at football, but has a moment in the sun.
He literally ran like 3. His route tree was like literally 2 routes. No. The Tennessee offense is such a scam in college because of the wide splits. Like he's just bigger and faster than everyone.
So much bigger and faster.
I mean,
he like caught like 25 passes.
What if he's DK Metcalf? Can he just be DK Metcalf? Just tell me he's DK Metcalf.
No,
for the sake of this game,
I cannot under more obligations tell you he's DK
no.
Metcalf.
I think he could be. I mean, I think he'd be Martavis Bryant. In that Martavis Bryant, I do not think was a skillful wide receiver in any sense of that word. But like
Martavis Bryant didn't make it in the UFL, so
well, there are other reasons he didn't end up making.
That is true.
Oh, Rich, I told this to Neil already, but I'll tell it to you because I told Neil I would stay on just to talk to you. I saw when I was looking at players that we needed to blur pre-writes for the NFL draft. I saw Dante Thornton's stats, and I was like, don't need to pre-write him.
I mean, I don't work for RotoViz anymore, but this is the most RotoViz player like we would have written up in like the 2010s. Like if he came out, we would have been all in on Dante Thornton.
He as I said before, Deebo brought him up.
And Isaac Tesla has been no dude. He was like the RotoViz heyday. Like we have been writing Isaac Tesla articles. Oh. Dude from Hillsdale College.
Isaac Tesla. I've taken him a few, maybe a couple best ball drafts. When I have Jared Goff, occasionally I'll take Tesla. Will you have any Tesla shares?
I don't think so.
No. I
think that because he's another guy. Like I just think that he's a future play. Like he's.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've been in dynasty drafts for like 4th and 5th round. Like there's nothing left, and everyone's leaving the 3rd round pick on the Lions. To me, like. I've done it. He's just a better pick than like other guys in the 4th or 5th round of dynasty drafts.
Pop Douglas still here for us at 186 if we want him.
I think with some of the risks this team has taken, Pop Douglas actually might fit.
Yeah, I could do Giddens here too. Jonathan Taylor's missed multiple games 3 years in a row. Definitely, the type of player to get banged up. We still could use a little bit more rushing upside, even though I know you want to do JCM on that Eckler team.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no! I mean, Giddens a player that I draft pretty frequently. Always happy to get another DJ Giddens share, and our wide receivers are like decent. We probably need another wide receiver on this team, at least one more.
Yeah, I got a gross one for you.
Okay.
Jermaine Burton.
Oh, you made that call on Best Ball Breakfast.
Yeah, your two wide receivers have been always kind of money in like these late rounds, and a player that at least has attachment to a good offense too, if he ever does, get his head on straight. So far, the reports have been positive. I do think he's going to sneak into these drafts as the summer goes on. I think he's going to get some buzz. So I've been trying to get him early before like that starts to happen.
Yeah, the tenor on him. Again. The tenor on him changed extremely quickly. Early in the offseason,
he's a 3rd round pick from Alabama.
Yeah, I don't remember if it was Duke Tobin or someone, but they're like, he hasn't done anything to earn his roster spot. And then within a few months of that, they were saying like, yeah, he's in the building very often. He's doing what he needs to do to like stay on the team, which is a far cry from like he's done nothing to earn a roster spot. So, like, I do legit believe that in the past 3 months, he's been committed to football. Will that translate? I honestly, I don't think so. I don't think so. These guys like never change their stripes ever. But like you said, he was an interesting prospect who is stone cold free and does fit the profile of like 2nd year guys who are super cheap. Is just like an easy bet to make.
Seems like there's mental health issues going on. Like with the like they were like game planning for him, and then he was like out at a casino the night before when he was a big part of the game.
Skip practice on that Saturday, I believe.
Yeah, it's like
yes.
So maybe he just needs the right medication. Maybe that's all.
He was a head case in college too. He was, I think, so in the screenshot, there's a screenshot of the Giants' entire draft board. I'll let us take a pic here in a minute. I got it. And there's a screenshot of the entire Giants draft board from, the documentary.
I think this would be Slayton though, with the actual pick at ADP.
Okay.
Yes,
all right.
Absolutely.
FYI.
Yeah, there was a screenshot of the Giants draft board, and they only had like 3 players that were red flagged for character issues, and Burton was one of them.
Yeah.
I mean, he's him being on the Bengals. There's something poetic about it.
Yeah. Wasn't with Burton too? They did the Chad Johnson's going to mentor him or whatever as soon as they drafted him.
Like the last guy you want to mentor.
I drafted so much Jermaine Burton last year. Whatever they were saying worked on me. I drafted a shit ton.
Have you guys heard that Chad Johnson story where he talked about how he was a stripper in college?
I just saw that 2
it was
days
so
ago.
good. It was such a good bit. Oh my goodness.
Is it a true story?
Yeah. Like he's literally just saying like he did it as a summer job. He's like, I would go to the club and like work, back when we were in the football off season. Like
his stage name was Twix.
Yeah,
that's great. Good for him. Get that money. Talked about this with Kyle already. I guess Reebs, you came in when we started talking about Keenan Allen a little bit. What are you? Is he draftable in best ball? Do you draft any Keenan Allen?
I mean, we just took Deontay Thornton. So like, I mean, who am I? And I just brought up taking Jermaine Burton with our go home pick. So like, sure, he's draftable. I don't know how much I'm gonna want him, right? Like, because he's like the archetype of player, like when you're old and declining, like it's just so hard to catch that falling knife, right? Like it's just and what fit makes you excited to draft Keenan? Like where does he have to go to where you're like genuinely like, all right, I'm like this vaults him up now to a spot where I'm like really pissed I didn't get him like in the earlier drafts.
Let's make our pick and then let's talk about it. Do we want Jermaine Burton here?
Yeah, absolutely.
We're doing it. Jermaine Burton, 18th round. Come on down. Finishes out the draft. So talked about the best draft spots as a guest on a stream earlier this week. Bindle's channel. We talked about it. I said maybe Denver could be a spot where like he could be kind of the 1B.
Then how do you feel about Pat Bryant then?
Well, then I don't like Pat Bryant at all if that happens. Tennessee was a place that people brought up as like there's kind of an opening there probably after Calvin Austin. He's probably better than Tyler Lockett and a bunch of rookies. What do you think?
I mean, I don't know if it's wrong, but like, are we gonna think a rookie quarterback's gonna prop 2 wide receivers, let alone maybe keep like Calvin Ridley hopium trains going? I think that's tough. I think he's definitely gonna be like there's gonna be a closing line value, right? Like wherever it settles, like there absolutely will be. But I'm just trying to think like scenarios where I'm mad, like I didn't get like overexposed now, and I think that those scenarios like are pretty thin. He's definitely going to beat closing line value, but is that going to be something that shadow realms me, right? Like, is he going to win you the money?
I also asked Kyle, what do you think the odds are that he's a complete zero for the full year? Well, what do you put the odds at?
I think he'll definitely sign. I think him and Cooper both will eventually get on a roster, especially when we see some of these camp injuries, and we don't want those, obviously. But
nobody wants injuries. Never hoping for injuries.
But I mean, if he signs with the Steelers tomorrow, like how mad are you? Like, how mad?
Oh no!
Yeah, as somebody who drafted him or somebody who did not draft him.
Either or, exactly. Like you're just
Neil. Like what is the most excited you could possibly get about Keenan Allen?
That is true. I was trying to think of like what is the place that he would go, and I'd be like, hell yes, that is exactly what I wanted. And I do not know the answer. I'm trying to think of like who are the good quarterbacks. Who are good quarterbacks that don't already have like a wide receiver 2 or 3 spot that he could step into? And I can't really think of any.
And like
Chris says Arizona.
Largely it's got to be a slot only role. And I mean they just gave Dortch another little bag, right? Like didn't they just do something with Dortch's contract?
Is that right in Arizona?
Like I think Cooper would be the fit in Arizona, right? Like because they're still just trotting out Michael Wilson in that sacrificial spot, but we'll see about that. Like Michael Wilson just still dodging competition every year.
People throwing out the Jets. I just don't believe in the pass volume there.
Same story, yeah.
Commanders.
And the Jets are probably a team that's are going to run a lot like less 11 personnel than probably people believe, with Engstrom coming over and Justin Fields making that transition. Not a lot of pass volume, probably not a lot of 11 personnel stuff. because so much is going to be built around what Justin Fields does from an archetypical stance of using his legs to set up other elements. So it's probably not a team that's just going to incorporate the slot receiver into a high volume of snaps to begin with.
Yeah. No, it's a very good thought exercise to go through, because it does make me a little bit less excited about my Keenan Allen shares when I think about like.
Well, sometimes we just get so focused in at this point of just the guy beating ADP, but like, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
Like, what does the guy like beating closing line value in the round 18 or whatever mean, right? Like, of course he's going to beat that when he signs the team, right?
Right.
But like, is it going to be something that vaults us into like, I feel like the apex outcome for Jermaine Burton is probably just as good to vaulting us. Like, right, instead of just trying to like nickel and dime some floor games. So
yeah,
I don't know. Like, I mean, I can get it. I think it's just probably build dependent, but there's not a lot of landing spots when I rack my brain of where I think he's going to go that I would legitimately be like really scared of him like absolutely dragging me.
Seattle, like, could he beat out Cooper Kupp?
No, they just already have two guys who do exactly what he does.
They have a whole team of Keenan Allen.
Good point. All right. Our team, we have Jalen Hurts and Geno Smith at quarterback. At running back, we have Chase Brown, Aaron Jones, Jaylen Warren, Jaydon Blue, Austin Eckler, and DJ Giddens. At wide receiver, Puka Nacua, Devontae Smith, Jacoby Myers, Deebo Samuel, Christian Kirk, Dante Thornton, Darius Slayton, and Jermaine Burton. And at tight end, we have Brock Bowers and Dallas Goedert. A lot of wide range of outcome players here, I would say. Jermaine Burton and Dante Thornton in particular at wide receiver feel like pretty wide ranges of outcomes. I guess our tight ends are very safe. Jaydon Blue, another player that I've heard it said that Jaydon Blue could be like a full zero this year. What do we think the odds are of that? Like, he's probably going to score some points, right?
I believe so.
Okay.
I just don't believe either of those guys. And I don't have a problem if you're taking Javonte or Miles Sanders. I think it's fine, right? Like, you're just betting on the veteran player and on a team that still believes that they're competing. Like, those guys are going to have an opportunity to fail, I believe. But there also is probability they could fail. It's definitely baked in for a guy. And Jaydon Blue, in the context of this draft class, did receive like tangible draft capital as well. Like, this is definitely, and the Cowboys, for as much as we drag them because they don't pay their players, but they are a really well drafting team. Like, they draft really good players. Like, this regime, since Jerry flipped it over to Steven, like, they've been really good at drafting players. Now, when it's time to pay these guys, like, stop sitting on your ass and give their good picks the money, man. Like, because
why give them money? We can just draft a replacement, right? How do you feel about our team?
I think it's solid. I think we probably need these like floor-based wide receivers again that we were talking about, like potentially adding like Keenan Allen to that room. Like, we need those guys to kind of we need to hit the luck box of their big weeks kind of, matching up like the right pockets. Because when we did get some insulation by taking Goddard there, because I do think there are weeks like where Goddard can fill a flex too, to kind of insulate kind of the wide receiver room and falling behind a little bit there. I mean, one pick away from Drake London in the second round would have been the pipe dream, but that's the way these things go.
That's so funny to me that like Drake London is like a player that you actively are like really, because I think of like Drake London as being like the player I settle for after the tier that I want. So maybe I need to change my tune.
I'm already on record where I've thrown the gauntlet down. I think Drake London outscores Amon-Ra St. Brown this year.
Damn. What? Okay. Let's play that game. Drake London.
Pick a different receiver, because
Brian Thomas Jr.
Oh, so Kyle's kind of like, all right.
Like, yeah, I can see it, but mostly because I'm like, St. Brown's good, but he's definitely not like great. And like London could be great.
Let's just go with the players. So looking at the top of the board, it is in that range: Nico Collins, Malik Neighbors. These are the guys who go ahead. Nico Collins, Malik Neighbors, Amon-Ra St. Brown.
I have him ahead of Amon-Ra Neighbors.
And okay, so you have him right after Nico Collins there. Ahead of Amon-Ra and Brian Thomas.
Yes.
Okay.
I really think London is a guy that's probably going to have a floor of 150 targets and could be he could potentially lead the NFL in targets, because when you look at the Atlanta Falcons schedule, like, they are just littered with games. Like, they're going to have to score points, like go up and down their schedule. They just face teams with that defense. They're going to have to chase points. And we saw it at the end of last year, and they faced the Commanders and the Panthers those last 2 weeks and they had shootouts. Like, look, go up and down their schedule. Look who they open the season with, like these opening 8 games. And then in the fantasy playoffs, who they play. And then Penix unlocked the upside for Drake London, because Drake London with Kirk Cousins was essentially 2023 Michael Pittman with Gardner Minshew. He only had 100-yard game with Kirk Cousins. But we saw Zach Robinson get him the free squares, the slot usage, and get the high target count. He had a really high floor. And then Penix opened it up because Penix wants to push the ball vertically and throw the ball outside the numbers. And now Drake London was double dipping on free squares and upside targets. He also had 60% of the Falcons' end zone targets in the half-point PPR. Like this guy, he's got double-digit touchdown upside pretty easily. That's bankable. Michael Penix threw the ball into the end zone 9 times in a small sample. 6 of those were to Drake London. I mean, I think that he's got a dark horse chance to be the wide receiver 1. I do think he's probably even has more upside on DraftKings than this, but I think the touchdown insulation helps him here. But I mean, just go down this Atlanta schedule. Like this, they're going to have to score points. I know inherently they want to be balanced, and you're not necessarily worried about this for Bijan because he catches passes too. So like, you're not even worried about it, but they open with Tampa Bay. Then they play Minnesota, who, is a team like you brought up, JJ McCarthy. Like, this is a team capable of scoring. They already, last time we seen them play Carolina, played a shootout. Then the Commanders, then the Bills, the 49ers, the Dolphins, the Patriots, who everyone believes are going to be better. Then the fantasy playoffs, you have the Bucks again, the Cardinals, the Rams. Like, they're going to have to score points. And this defense is not good. They're basically going to need these 2 pass rushers to be on a similar trajectory to what we saw the Rams get last year. Like, you basically needed these guys to be, like Jared Verse, and Fiske. Like, you need that to happen. And like, that's a tall ask. Like, that's just a tall ask. So I look at Atlanta and I look at Penix too. And like, Atlanta stacks are pretty easy to build. Mooney is a value too, because of the contingency stuff. I talk about this all the time. We do this at running backs, right? We took DJ Giddens as contingency. I don't think not enough people think of the contingency outcomes with wide receivers at all. This has been a thing, we took Devontae Smith. If AJ Brown misses any time, look at any time AJ Brown's been out and Devontae Smith has played. He's absolutely crushed. His target rate goes up. Mooney's another one of those guys. I think he's a solid play where he's at ADP, and then his contingency value of something where happened to London, right? Penix has like poor man's, like, he could not even poor man's. He just could be like in a Jameis Winston type of situation. Like, he could just have so much raw volume and create his own game scripts too with like mistakes. Because he's a gunslinger. He wants to push the ball and throw the ball. So yeah, the Falcons are a team from a stacking stance. Now I'm not taking Kyle Pitts. I'm not talking myself into that. But
oh wow,
the Falcons are a team.
Throw so much. Oh, they're gonna Jameis Winston, but no.
The Falcons are a team that I genuinely love stacking. And
so you're taking a lot of Michael Penix also, it sounds like.
Yeah, I don't force it, but on the 3 QB builds, he's always involved on those teams.
I also I was just reading the Coach Speak Index. They were talking about like, he runs so well. He's so fast. We gotta figure out how to use him more in the running game.
He's never been that dude. Like, he's athletic.
I know, but they talk about it. They've talked about doing it.
But his mindset just is always like, he wants to, because Cam Ward's like this too. Cam Ward is athletic and he can kind of be pushed into scrambling, but like, the dude's got a howitzer and he believes Cam Ward is like arrogant arm strength. And that's why he doesn't run as much, because he's like, I'll make that throw. And that's how early career Josh Allen was. Our guy on the site, Ryan McChrystal, comped Cam Ward actually more to Josh Allen coming out, because he has that mentality of just like, I can make all the throws. Like, why? He doesn't run as much as Josh Allen. He's capable, but like, he's like, I have that arrogant arm strength. I have a true spade, and I know I have a spade. And that's like the way he operates the position. Penix is like that.
Yeah, I don't think we get the Penix rushing stuff, mostly because he never did it in college. He was not a scrambler too. It's like guys who scramble a lot, especially if you look at their clean pocket scrambles, like that's just something they inherently fall back on as like humans. Like, that's just how they handle the pressure of a game. He's the opposite of that. He never did that. And I believe he either had 2 or like 3 torn ACLs in college. He ran like a 4.5 something in his pro day, blazing fast for a quarterback. If he wasn't leveraging that at college, he just won't at the NFL. And it's probably in part because that's just his nature of like, he relies on his arm. And also he has shredded knees and he probably doesn't want to put his body at risk in that capacity.
And I also just think that scheme in general, the way that scheme operates is that you just make so many in rhythm throws. Like, there's probably going to be very few times. And the one thing the Falcons still do is that they lost Dalman, but Dalman he missed half the year last year anyways. The offensive line is still good. So like, it's easy to buy the Atlanta offense and see kind of, upside. And Pat Thorman had a tweet today They were the only team that was top 10 last year in terms of rushing yards, passing yards, pace of play, and no huddle rate. And like of all teams, like you see, and the defense sucks. Like it's probably gonna be bad. Like, and like I just brought up their schedule. Like they're just gonna be in so many situations where they get pressed on the scoreboard. So yeah, I mean,
you sold me. I'm excited about all my, because I have London shares. I'm suddenly feeling a lot better about them.
And I don't, and that's not to discredit those guys that I said I'd have them over. Like I think those are very good players. And I like Amon-Ra St. Brown. I like Malik Neighbors players, like Brian Thomas Jr. as a player. That's just where I value London this season.
Yeah, you just really like London. Yeah, it's all right. That's good to know. Good to hear. I got asked if we're doing another draft. I would do it if either of you feels like hanging out and doing another draft. I assume it's getting late. If you, I have no expectation of doing another draft, but if either of you wants to, I'd be happy to.
Listen, if you're doing numbers on the stream and they want us to do it, I'll hang out and just riff with you guys. I have no problem with it.
I do not. Kyle, do you want to do another draft?
Yeah, sure.
He's already been on for 3 hours.
I'm not trying to pressure you. I'm just, but I'm.
No, I want to hang out. I'll do one more. I'll be right back.
Love it. Okay.
But yeah, we can do more of a collab here.
We're not just going to let you pick all of our picks. I mean, it was fun. I kind of enjoyed doing that. So I told Kyle, I was like,
well, probably because you do so many and like on your own, and you do guests like Overset. You have the similar formula where Pete comes in and he actually wants the guests to kind of give different takes and provide different insight than the stuff that you've been saying or the stuff you've even been doing.
Exactly. I end up with like a big exposure, and of course, I like last year. So I streamed all 150 last year, mostly with guests. It ended up being that then my exposures were like extremely flat as a result. But it's fun, and it's good to like get people's takes, and then it informs what I want to do. All right, we are entering a 30-second Best Ball Mania right now. If anybody wants to get in, now is the time to get in with us.
I got thirsty.
Oh
no!
It is going to make me do the on my phone thing. Also, if anybody has updates on how the Timberwolves are doing in the draft, I would love to hear how the draft is going for the Timberwolves. I don't know who any of the players are, so if you do give me an update, you also have to tell me if they're good players and what they do. I just saw, I asked this because I just got a text from a friend saying, the Stifle Towers. All right, we're entering a 30-second BBM now. 5 more to start. So they must have drafted
T-Wolves didn't get Cooper Flag. I don't know. That's all I got for you. And you know what? I don't think they got Cooper Flag.
I was hoping they would get somebody named Walter Clayton Jr. I don't know anything about him except for a friend of mine compared him to like Jalen Brunson, like a good player who like doesn't look great in the measurables. So I'm like, all right, I'm into that. All right, we need how many more? Three more. But yeah, I stole this format. Pete suggested this format to me of draft where it's like, yeah, just like do like long streams with like different guests, bring guests on. The one thing that I do differently than Pete, other than having like 1/20th of his engagement, probably less than that, is I do I invite guests to stay on for multiple drafts with other guests. I enjoy the overlap. He does it like very sequentially, like one guest leaves, the other guest comes in. I kind of enjoy just having more people here for the hangout. Also in the evening, so it's just more of a, I don't know. I enjoy this kind of
us doing this later is easier for me just to kind of hang out and do whatever.
It's funny. So I much prefer these late night drafts. A lot of people are like, I'm not going to do best ball drafts in the evening. Like I got better things to do. They want to do it while they're at work. A lot of people are just like, no, I want to hang out while I'm at work. I'm going to listen to best ball streams and draft with you.
And I would assume more people are probably messing around at work. That's why watching. But
yeah, exactly. Whereas at night, it's like I'd rather watch my Netflix. I can't be doing anything else. Yeah, please do. By the way, if you have not already liked the video, would appreciate if you do like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, etc., etc. We are almost full here. Need 2 more for this draft, and this will be the final draft. Got to pay some attention to my dog. My wife is out of town, so he's just sitting there lonely while I'm streaming. Callie, you have 2 pit bulls, right?
It's grabbing them.
There we go.
Oh, I know, baby girl.
There's one.
I just have one. The other one's Foster that we, he's been adopted. Okay. Oh, I know you're so tired, sweet.
Rich, do you have any dogs?
No, I have 3
or
children.
cats? Oh, you have 3 children. Those are more difficult from what I've heard.
My daughter really has been like pushing us for a dog, and I'm just like, I can't do it.
How old are your kids?
20, 12, and 8.
Oh wow. You must be older than you look, or started young.
Yeah, I'll take it. Yeah. Well, both. I think it's a blend of both.
Okay. You asked Pete on his stream, so I know that I can ask you. How old are you?
I just turned 43 2 weeks ago.
I'm turning 42 next month, so you are old. Not many people would guess it. I think that you are older than I am, since because I declared myself the oldest man to stream 150. People assume that I'm like 55, but I'm only 41.
Yeah, I do. I live in an area like right outside of Cleveland. I live like between Cedar Point, if anyone's heard of it, in Cleveland. And we always play the game where they have to guess your age, and I always win. And I'd let my wife know, like, you see how old she thought I was. So I let her know.
You get guesses like 28 or something.
No, usually in the 30s, but like, you
Okay.
know, because I also dress like, I just the way I raised, like my hat and shoes always match and stuff. So like they always think I'm
Nice.
yeah, I haven't reached that old degen, like, the way I dress yet, but
yeah, we are still waiting on 2. I mean, if this doesn't fill, we're gonna call it. If this doesn't fill by 5 minutes from now, we are not gonna wait around for another. It should. I assume it will. It will fill pretty soon. But join if you have not already. T-Wolves drafted someone who started playing b-ball in 2021. We got Giannis. We got the 2025 version of Giannis. I love to hear that. That's always fun. Or Joel Embiid, I think, is another one of those examples.
All right, chat. Give me updates on the Hornets. How are the Hornets doing?
Reebs, do you have a basketball team?
No. I mean, I loosely just like follow the Cavs and want them to do good for the city, but I'm not really a fan of any sports team in general.
Not even football.
Traded in my, like kind of my fandom card, just because I saw when I was exposed to every fan base at once with the field I'm in, that like it just is like, oh wow, kind of a look in the mirror in a sense.
Yeah.
Where I was just kind of like,
impressed.
I remember asking my wife at one point, like, was I like this? And she said sometimes. I'm like,
yeah, I grew up a Steelers fan. I sort of lost the moment money was introduced into like fantasy sports and gambling. I was like, don't care at all who wins. I
actually grew up a 49ers fan, which is ironic about that. Like I grew up in a household that I never had football pushed on me. So I never had like a parent influence who I rooted for.
Okay.
And, I just gave you my age. So when I started watching football, the Browns would be on at 1:00, and then at 4:00, the 49ers would be on. And like, I remember just like watching the AFC North game and then watching the Bill Walsh 49ers, like, this is a different game. What sport are these guys playing? And I was always in love with the 49ers. You can say that's front running or whatever, but it's like my football virginity like was just exposed to the best. It was just like, I always loved the 49ers growing up.
Yeah, I had such a great childhood for sports. Okay, never mind. You had a better childhood, but I did have 2 Steelers Super Bowls, 3 appearances, and like 2 or 3 Stanley Cups. Baseball I never cared about, which is good because Pirates have been awful forever.
We did get the 12 hole.
Oh, nice.
So if you want Drake London, this is a place you can get Drake London. Typically, maybe not in this draft where
the 1-2 turn is just exponentially better than it was a year ago. And I know we ended up getting Saquon there, but I mean, just on paper, it's just, and if you're in these leagues like the Fishbowl or something that's 3rd round reversal, like, oh my God, that spot is so hot. Like those, like, and I ended up like not getting in the Fishbowl league I intended to. I'm filling in for someone live, so I didn't get to pick my draft slot in it. So I'm just like picking in the middle. Those 3rd round reversal leagues where you're picking in the back third, that's a real hot zone.
Wait, so
I feel like the early picks this year are kind of brutal in that like once London, AJ Brown, and Ladd come off the board, I'm like, ooh, Spike Week T Higgins, who does not have a season-long ceiling. In that like Reebs said, if Drake London leads the league in catches, I believe it. Like, if you get a 1,500-yard season from Ladd McConkey, who like guy who's really good as a rookie turns out to be really even better the next year, is like, that's the career arc for guys who are really good as rookies. And AJ Brown, it's just purely a measure of volume. I truly like, in my heart of hearts, he's like the 3rd best receiver in the NFL, maybe the 4th best, and we get to take him as. And
he was incredible. He was incredible last year. Like in terms of a performance, obviously he had the 4 missed games, and then they just didn't throw in the second half.
I think he's kind of like Kittle in that way, where his entire career, we're never going to get to see. We actually get to see it once with Kittle, but in general, like Kittle's per route stuff, we don't have PFF data into the 40s. I think if we did, I think Kittle would be the best player ever, like in terms of a per route thing. And AJ Brown's kind of in that vein where like out of the gates, he was like a 2.5 yards per route run guy. And he just kept getting better. And then he gets traded and he finds a better situation and keeps getting better. And the fact that he's been on these run heavy teams means we'll probably never get the 1,800 yard season. I think if he had played for the Vikings, he would have an 1,800 season. Like I just firmly believe that. So once those three receivers and Bowers go off the board, it does feel like you're taking the kind of dead zone, a little scary running backs. They're pretty good picks, but I feel much better about the London McConkey than I do the group of running backs and guys after that receivers.
All right, we are on the clock now. By ADP is Ashton, Jeanty, Brian Thomas, Derrick Henry, Drake London, AJ Brown, De'Von Achane. Who do we like here? Do we want to do Drake London here? I'll start there.
I think the question is, is it like where have you guys been? Have you guys been taking Jeanty here at like these spots?
I'm okay with taking Jeanty here.
Yeah, let's go Jeanty first.
Okay.
Well, we are just Raiders. It's the one Raider we didn't get last time.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. All right.
I'm fine doing London next too, because I think any receiver here that is currently on the screen is a fine pick.
All right. I assume Reeves wants London.
Yeah, I mean, I do have AJ Brown over him, but I have him back to back.
Oh, if you have AJ Brown over him, sounded like that was Kyle's
do
pick.
It. It's not my money. Go for it.
No, I mean, yeah, it's
with AJ Brown.
Yeah, pick who you want.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, go AJ Brown. I truly don't think there's like a huge difference between these players in that like they're all hyper talented. Yeah. Some of them are in slightly better situations. Like I think AJ Brown is probably the most talented of the bunch. He's probably in the worst situation for passing volume, but like you're just shuffling around where you think your points are coming from in a small amount. I seriously think he's just as good of a pick as London, as Brian Thomas.
If it was DraftKings, I would have pushed harder for maybe London.
For Drake
but
London.
In the half PPR, you just get so many yards. Like I told, I mean, people forget like he was a 1,500 yard receiver his first 2 years with the Eagles. Like
he's so good.
If you want to do a DraftKings draft sometime, we'll have to talk about
maybe,
that.
Yeah, maybe we'll run that.
Dude, have us both on for a DraftKings draft. I mean, I play way more on DraftKings than I do Underdogs. Like, oh man, the DraftKings streets are so fun.
I will. I'll be making the announcement soon that I'll be participating in DraftKings Draft Week. They have one in July and one in August, and I'll be just nonstop drafting for those weeks. So I'll talk. We'll talk.
Yeah.
I feel good about that start. I have never chosen to do AJ Brown in this. It's been Brian Thomas for me every time. But like, what do you think the odds are of Brian Thomas outscoring AJ Brown and or Drake London? Like it is a much more flat tier than I think I give it credit for a lot of the time. Like it's like, yeah, I mean he's exciting because he's a second year player. Like what if he ascends? But like,
you know what's funny is I actually think maybe it is more likely that AJ Brown outscores Brian Thomas. Like if you were just placing both bets at plus 100, no vig, I think maybe I take AJ Brown, and it's more so who can get to 1,800, right? And like I think that bet might be Brian Thomas because like frankly, he physically does have like the same kind of gifts. Where like dudes this big should not move that fast, and this one just happens to do that. But I do think if you just took a bet on who gets more passing volume, it's very clearly Brian Thomas. But like it's more so like what does the highest of high end outcomes look? The median outcome for these guys should just be based a lot on their prior, and my prior for AJ Brown is stronger because, like Reebs said, he's got back-to-back 1,500-yard seasons on the Eagles, and then last year still really good, just missed some time. So, frankly, like, who outscores is not exactly the question we're trying to answer when we play best ball, but it does help elucidate the fact that, like, you just could take AJ Brown like we did over Brian Thomas.
Yeah, totally reasonable to do.
Yeah, and we're like I said, we're trying to split hairs between like our wide receiver 8, 9, and 10.
Right.
I think it's just a testament of how stronger it is this year versus last year when we were pushing, the Olaves, the Garrett Wilsons, like up into this area of the draft, the Marvin Harrison Juniors, right? That like weren't proven players, and we have proven production now available to us, and that's why we just went on that tangent earlier of just why that area of the draft is so much stronger.
What are you guys doing with Rashee? Second round pick, Rashee Rice, that is now.
I'm okay with him at the 2-3 turn. Like I click him there. I took a lot of him at like the
I was drafting him early,
which feels good now.
I was drafting him early because, one, if you follow Drew Davenport, like he was early on, like this thing wasn't going to get resolved. And then there's a couple other guys on Twitter that were like, I think there was a misnomer about his injury. I think a lot of people thought he tore his ACL and he didn't. And that's why like he is ahead of curve. I think in a lot of people's heads, he had an ACL injury, and that's what was kind of also hanging with people.
Yeah, I did. I don't know if you saw Sam Sherman's take. He took the counterculture take this week of he wants to see something
Sam
from
did?
Rashee Rice.
No,
Yeah. Shockingly, Sam took a.
I do like him more on DraftKings than essentially here, but I think that he's fine where he goes.
What was his bad take, Neil?
Sam's terrible take was just that he wants to see him since he had this knee injury that's kind of an unknown what exactly the knee injury he's dealing with, like something we haven't seen before. He'd just like to see him first before he takes him in the second round.
Skate to where the puck is going, brother.
Yeah, it was honestly, it was like I had not really even considered that he might still be hurt. Like I was just like, yeah, he'll be fine. Like it's been so long, should be fully recovered by now. But
yeah, I think there's maybe a difference between like he's fully recovered, which does largely seem to be true. Like reports out of Chiefs mini camp, whatever we're at, was that he just practiced in full, that there were no restrictions on him. Like Mahomes said, basically, like, yep, he's back to full speed or whatever. That could be different than like his current version of full. Maybe just is never what it used to be. Like guys just sometimes mess up their knee and just are not the same. Someone made the comp that Juju was kind of this way earlier in his career. We can make our pick here.
So we have Kyren Williams, Mike Evans, Ted McMillan. DJ
and that's
Moore.
the thing that scares me about him a little bit from like a dynasty stance.
Wait, we got to make our pick before.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, these picks all suck.
Jaden Daniels is here if we want. Xavier Worthy, James.
Yeah, we could James Cook with AJ Brown. That's a week 17 corollary. We could just take Kyren and just say like the room keeps undervaluing him because he's really good and scores a lot of touchdowns. I mean,
let's do that. Let's do Kyren.
Yeah. I like the Kyren too because he's just let's start by taking the guy at ADP and then make our riskier decision next.
And then
man, not a single good pick on the board, huh?
We don't like Ted McMillan. No Ted McMillan guys here.
I love Ted. You could tell me to draft him. Like he kind of strikes me as somewhere on that like Drake London spectrum of like always open in the money.
These are my three favorites. Field. Who do you like the best?
I'll do Ted.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I mean,
all right.
I also think like somewhere farther down that end of the spectrum is like Marvin Harrison, where like always open in the intermediate portion of the field turns into like not open super often deeper down the field, which like that sucks bad. That's Alec Pierce with.
I didn't know Marv went mid 2 here, huh? I actually didn't notice that.
He goes pretty early. He usually goes third round.
Yeah, I mean that's a little earlier than he typically goes.
Reebs, I forgot what point you're making when I cut you off.
I don't remember either.
You don't remember it? Damn.
Oh, the Rashee Rice thing. Yeah, because I talked about Matt Harmon about this.
Yeah.
He is very, very similar to early career Juju. That's why you brought that up. A lot of manufactured stuff near the line of scrimmage, creating but doesn't run a nuanced route tree. And like that type of guy typically can get found out in the NFL. But I also believe that when you pair these Chiefs wide receivers all together, his role is like pretty kind of set in, like, because he can't do the other things. So they're still going to, I think, revert to having Worthy be a field stretcher, Hollywood kind of running the big boy routes that actually come with some nuance. So I actually think he's a little bit safer in terms of immediate value. But I think if I was in dynasty leagues, I'd probably be looking to upsell on Rashee Rice at this point.
Yeah, and even in best ball, like he's getting to the point where like I would just take Ladd over him. Like if Rashee Rice had played all of last year, I kind of just in my heart think we would be taking him at the like 10th overall pick. But like he didn't, and he blew out his knee, and he doesn't seem like he's got his head on straight. I don't think that will affect him, in terms of games played. Like I'd rather have my guy more focused on making good decisions. So like when you get to Ladd, who last year, including the playoffs, was like a 2.2, 2.3 yards per route run, like 1,200 yard season, and he missed a game. So it's a full 17 games if you include the playoffs. Like, man, that's what like superstars look like. Superstars typically early in their career, turns out they were really good. Like guys who excel as rookies oftentimes just go on to be the greats. So like once you get to that range where it's, I said AJ Brown, London, Ladd are that range. I could see all of these guys being, maybe not the wide receiver 1 overall, but cracking that top 3. At that point, the risk reward is to me clearly in favor of those guys who didn't just blow out their knee, and I still love their ceiling. So Rice is kind of at the point where I think he's reached the equilibrium, and I'm worried he like jumps some of these guys, and I don't get as much from them. I'll still click him at the 2-3 turn, but I won't be clicking him over Ladd, over London, over AJ Brown.
A fun exercise to do sometimes is to try to think about what next year's ADP is going to look like. And, that's always fun to kind of walk through those scenarios, because then you can kind of spot like, all right, this guy could have that big breakout and be dropped. Like, a guy like Ladd, like you said, it's easier. He could be drafted up. Drake London was like this last year, right? Where people took that step of faith, and now he's, getting drafted where he was. JSN would have been that guy last year too, right? Like, where he was going after it's funny because he's oscillated, right? Like we were overboard one year, and Marv, maybe that's the same story. We'll see happen with him, but it's a fun exercise to kind of walk through with some players. Just kind of think about like, all right, if I was setting next year's ADP, what I think it looks like.
I feel like it only works with young players though, right? Because like old players, like he's got a cap. Like,
well, sometimes
sometimes
you can get. Sometimes it works out because you can it's easy to just look at Derrick Henry and be like, there's nothing going to stop this guy, right? And then you try to walk through, and then like that can just give you the pump the brakes if you're drafting 150 teams and stuff, right? Like, to make sure that you're in a little safer zone.
True.
Like I said, I was gung ho. Like I was like, I'm locked in. I'm in TMC RB1, and then when I start to take the V, and I'm like, it's kind of irresponsible to put him over Bijan. Like, of all my years of playing fantasy football, like it's irresponsible.
Right. All right. RJ Harvey, Romo Dunze, Jordan Addison, Chris Godwin, Travion Henderson. Who do we like here?
None of them, frankly. I mean, I'll go Harvey. Like, live a little. Let's have some fun.
RJ Harvey. Reebs, who do you like here? We got 2 picks.
Let's see. We went Harvey. We have nothing like naturally kind of playing out for us, right?
No
synergies.
Nothing. We definitely need receivers.
Yeah, this is definitely a receiver pick. I've been pumping the brakes on Addison because it looks like he is getting the 3-game DUI suspension. I will buy when he's cheap is what I've been doing. So
yeah, I think you'll buy. Even I could walk through a thing too. Why I think his ADP is too high right now. I mean, then the bummer is the guys that I think that are all like the best picks here, like a Judy Olave. You get the terrible quarterback attachment.
Do Olave, I love him. He's so good at football. We're never going to score points with him, but who cares? You have to stand for something. He's a guy that every metric we make up and gets fancier every year, he crushes it. And all these metrics were like, well, how many yards did he get? No. For this player, for my special boy, you cannot look at yards. You cannot look at fantasy points. Look at separation over expected adjusted WOBA, and you'll find out just how good he is.
We're throwing baseball stats in here. All right.
My concern with Addison is that every signal, we didn't get into this last show when we were talking about Mason and Aaron Jones, but every signal the Vikings have put on the table for us this offseason is that they're going to insulate JJ McCarthy and they're going to run the football a hell of a lot more than they have. And we did see their pass rate dip a little bit last year with the transition to Sam Darnold. They went from like a 65% drop back team to a 61%. But look at every time when the offseason opened, they extend Aaron Jones. They signed Will Fries. They signed Ryan Kelly. They trade for Jordan Mason. He's a first-round pick on Donovan Jackson. Like everything is, and they extend Josh Oliver, the best run blocking tight end in the NFL. That everything they're telling us, every signal is that they're insulating JJ McCarthy and this team's going to be more balanced and run the football a lot more. And if you're going to run the football a lot more and reduce the pass volume, it's still not going to hurt a guy like Justin Jefferson, but now it starts to nick up guys like Jordan Addison and TJ
Alpha's
Hawkinson.
eat, brother. Yeah. Alpha's going to eat, and the other guys figure it out.
Yep. And Jordan Addison has been a guy that's just been so catawampus based on touchdown production or not. I mean, this is the guy, he averages 19.7 points per game in weeks with a touchdown and 6.9 points per game in weeks without a touchdown in his career, like to open his career the 2 years. Like he's so just dependent on touches, which is fine for best ball, right? Like you're taking those, I'm not pushing back on it, but I think it's also rich where he goes in terms of draft capital for all of those reasons paired together. Plus we're getting a healthy TJ Hawkinson to start this year as also mixed in. He's another guy, his ADP is way too high though, for the reasons I said. Because we have a very Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox situation with Hawkinson. When TJ Hawkinson's been on the field these past 2 years, the Minnesota Vikings have run the ball under 30% of the time. So if the signal is they're going to run the football more and reduce pass volume, this is what roadblocked Kincaid from breaking out last year, right? Like, as he doesn't play in these heavy sets, he doesn't get all these run blocking snaps, and that's why his route participation looks kind of laggard compared to like his peers. And I think that's what we have with Hawkinson. I think we have a very very much a on par situation here where it's like, we could see Oliver in and on these rundowns, and when Hawkinson comes in the game, it's a clear pass down, but we don't have as many clear pass downs because we're reducing volume and he doesn't pop.
Neil, he also fits the archetype, like the very 10,000-foot view archetype of my dog's barking in her sleep. Of the mid-range of tight ends, like especially when we have a crop of guys who we think are elite, where we're like, oh, well, just draw the line linearly, and this guy is 80% as good as this guy. Right. And the like tight end 4 through tight end 12 is like year over year consistently one of the worst bets. And last year we had a departure from that. I also think it was because we had just mispriced talent, which like Hawkinson's good, but I don't think there's a scenario where we look back and be like, he just was the best tight end in the NFL. And I think if you do not fit that archetype, that's when I'm like, oh, mid-round tight end, like I'm just not going to draft that guy. Whereas like Bauer's like, oh, why did we miss on him? It wasn't like, oh, he actually did run hot on touchdowns. We didn't underprice his touchdown potential. No, we underpriced his talent. He was just that good. Yeah. Whereas like in years past, it's like, was Gary Barnidge that good? No, the answer was no, but we drafted him as the tight end 4 anyways.
I mean, Hawkinson's best stretch, that the back half 2 years ago when he got traded, he was literally running the most routes per game at the position over that stretch. He was running more routes than Travis Kelce. Writing up the worksheet every week. Like his usage was so insane. And this also happened with Evan Ingram a couple of years ago, the Jaguars. Like his 1 year where Evan Ingram was like a really good fantasy football pick was the year he ran the most routes at the position. Like that scenario probably doesn't exist in Denver. They're just too good. It's too balanced of a team. And as the guy doesn't score a lot of touchdowns. So it's hard to make like the pro bullish Evan Ingram argument for that same reason.
All right, Aaron Jones goes, so we don't have to consider that argument.
Everybody,
we just want to bet on the Downs.
I think this is the Downs and Mooney double tap. I think.
Oh, love it.
I'd rather be hit with the brick than draft Darnell Mooney, but that's fine. I got my pick in.
I tried to make the case for him earlier.
I'm doing it.
Like I've never been less afraid of a player. I'm like, oh, who can really burn me in this range? There frankly isn't, and like Ayuk is going to miss half the season, so I don't care if he burns me.
You didn't play any Darnell Mooney in DFS when they played the Buccaneers last year.
I was sold on Darnell on Michael Penix opening up Darnell Mooney with the long ball. So I'm just like I'm counting on like 10 40 plus yard touchdowns this year.
Let's just draft Alec Pierce 60 picks later. Like it's mostly because like I do think though that once like Pearsall, Egbuka, Downs, Jayden Reed, who goes a little bit earlier, they're closer on DraftKings, like that range goes. Once those guys go, I'm fine. Like Michael Pittman also doesn't scare me, and that like I'm never looking back and like, oh, the guys with Michael Pittman, they killed you. It was the guy you needed. We're like, I could see it with Downs. Every stat, the little less made up ones for like targets per route. When you're on the field, does your team target you? He doesn't look good. He looks like one of the best receivers in the NFL. And like that's the kind of guy I want to buy into. I don't know if when they are playing, say they're playing they probably will play a lot of like 2 tight end type of stuff this year. Maybe he's not on the field very much. Maybe though, guy who's really good at football forces team to keep him on the field. Like players who are just that good sometimes can force teams to do things that maybe aren't optimal in terms of like, oh, well, Josh Downs is going to be out there for a run blocking snap. Also, Josh Downs is Antonio Brown, and you don't sit Antonio Brown. Like if that is who he is, obviously, like, I don't think he's very likely to be that type of player. Whereas like Darnell Mooney just doesn't scare me. But to the point I was making, at this point, we're kind of out of upside. Like Michael Pittman's just like, hey, he's a good points per dollar on DFS type play, as you were making with Mooney. Like at this point, we're out of fun picks, and it's just on to points per dollars.
Yeah, we did not have Jayden Reed.
Mooney did have the one full game he played with Penix. Did have 5 for 82, and then got hurt the next week. He got hurt in the Washington game. And then
5 for 82.
No, I'm saying like he actually out targeted London that game. Like so, it's like we know he's going to be on the field, and I tried to make the bull case for the Falcons passing game while not propping up Kyle Pitts. Like I still
everybody
So if I believe the Falcons are going to drop back that much, and we believe London and Beach, like there still has to be another guy. And is it going to be Ray McLeod, right? Or we're going to follow the money? It's going to be Darnell Mooney.
I think Mooney seems like a fine bet. I honestly have not drafted a ton of Mooney, but the other I was going to make a case for Jayden Reed, who actually went pretty early in this draft.
Yeah.
He sometimes you can get him at this turn. Maybe I actually think that's more of a DraftKings thing. I think he goes
and Downs is
they go right next to each other on DraftKings, which is why I was looking for Reed and I couldn't find him.
So.
Yeah, and I Reed, Downs, and Shakir I draft more for the reasons I let off earlier about the best ball stuff. Because in season long, like I'm just not going to deal with it. I'm going to let someone else take Downs, and they're probably going to try to end up trading him or shopping him during the season.
Yeah, no, I think it's 100% the correct take that these guys are better in best ball. But like really good in best ball too. Like
yes, really good in best because they're good players. We know they're.
That's my take for them in season long is like they're going to be they're probably going to be frustrating. The most likely outcome is they're frustrating. But in the seasons where Jayden Reed isn't frustrating, it's because the team, he's undeniably good. Is that I was looking at early career wide receiver data, and it was like Antonio Brown ran 105 routes as a rookie, and he just wasn't on the field very much. He averaged 2.9 yards per out run. For reference, that would have been roughly the third best last year, maybe even closer to the second best or whatever. On a per route basis, as a rookie, he was the best player ever, and he's this short, thick, looks like slot, but plays outside, doesn't maybe.
He was an incredible special teams player.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that was part of the, back in the RotoViz days is a little, maybe more than a cherry on top was these guys who have a level of dynamism in college. And you see this in the pros too, but a level of dynamism. It's hard to exactly capture what that means, but elite punt returners or guys who have a 10-202 rushing line in college.
Well, it's a roster spot. It's roster insulation. It's a little bit of a dynasty hack as your late round rookie picks. You want to look for guys that can win on special teams because they're going to hold roster spots until they get an opportunity.
We are on the clock. Tyrone Tracy went. We have Cam Scatteroo, Najee Harris, Travis Etienne, Mark Andrews, Evan Ingram. Anybody you guys like here?
Yeah, I like Andrews, but I just think he's good. So.
Do we not? We don't have a tight end, right?
We don't have a tight end.
We don't have a tight end.
To do that too.
I mean, I'd rather chase the guy attached to Lamar Jackson. There's definitely touchdown regression coming for Mark Andrews,
probably, yeah.
Who converted 90% of his end zone targets or touchdowns last year.
Not in the playoffs. Do we want to throw Rashee Rice onto our Saint stack or Cam Scatteroo?
Sure, yeah, sure, do it.
There's no way you're talking me into taking Tyler Shough. So.
No, I will.
So no, let's not do it. Then Cam Scatteroo, Rashad Bateman.
I like Scatteroo too. So we don't need a running back though.
ETN. We don't.
No, we could. We'd be almost done.
Christian Kirk.
Hell no. I actually don't care about that one, but
we got
back to the point on on these dynamic players is not only is it good for a roster spot, but the fact that your college coach was instead of giving our running back touches, what if you, our wide receiver, carry the ball? That tells you something about that player's talent relative to who they're playing with. And to the point about Antonio Brown, I don't expect these guys to be Antonio Brown, obviously. Antonio Brown was a good proof of concept that these guys are super efficient early in their career. And maybe he doesn't have he returned punts deep into his stardom. He was returning punts for his entire NFL career. But these guys who don't have, he's not 6'2", he's not Calvin Johnson, he's not this big buffed up guy. But the guys who are just super efficient early in their career have a gravity to them where at some point, it became undeniable to the Steelers that Antonio Brown should be the alpha and the omega of the offense, even if he's this short, stubby, but outside guy. He's 5'10", so he's not that short. But he basically looks like a slot and played a lot, mostly outside during his NFL career, was a punt returner and a gadget kind of guy. And I mean, Tyreek Hill is kind of this guy too. Frankly, he does not, in his prospect profile, does not look like a particularly great NFL player. Then he comes in the NFL and is just undeniably talented. And if you told me after Tyreek Hill's rookie year, without knowing this kind of data nerdy stuff, does this guy just become the best receiver in the NFL? Nah, he's a gimmick. He's a gadget. And some of those guys get stuck there, but also Tyreek Hill's excellence on carries and on return type of stuff tells you something about how good he is and also should earn him more work down the road. And I don't think that happens super often with Jayden Reed or with Josh Downs, just in terms of pure target commanding. But when a guy is that good, when they reach levels that are so good that you cannot deny them, coaches will also sometimes carve out roles for them that are just we got to keep you on the field every play. Do I love that Jayden Reed is in on a 2 tight end set because we need to maybe run block? No, they don't love that. But also, do I love that we subbed on Tavion Wixon for him? That's worse. It is worse to not have that guy out there. And I think Downs and Reed are two kinds of bets on that where they've just been so good early in the career that maybe they are part-time players. But the times they're not part-time players, it's because they take that next step and their coaches just think we have to get this player the ball as often as possible.
Could Xavier Worthy be that level of player who's just the ball gravitates towards him?
Yeah, I think you can make those arguments big picture. I think when you're looking at all of these players we mentioned from an isolated 2025 stance, the avenue needs dominoes to fall. Like, right. Like, I think you can probably make the most bullish case for Reed because, you know, we just don't know like if how good Golden is. Right. And like, they also could open up more. Downs is in a congested, and we believe in the system, right? Like we believe in the Packers offensive system. We believe in LaFleur. We believe in Jordan Love's upside. Whereas the Colts, it takes a little more squinting. Not only do they have kind of a log jam at wide receiver, where it's like, even if Alec Pierce were to be injured, Downs probably, we've seen it last year. He's not taking those snaps. Adonai Mitchell just gets elevated. If Pittman gets injured, Adonai Mitchell gets elevated to the outside. And then you have the quarterback stuff still with the Colts. Like it's always, that's always kind of hanging in the kind of the rearview mirror. And then Worthy is in that bucket where it's like, all right, if we didn't get to see all three of these guys play it all together, Hollywood, Rice, and Worthy. So like that's the kind of the guesswork we're trying to skate to where it's going to be. And I still think the way it fits is Worthy is like more of the field stretcher. Remember in the regular season, Worthy didn't even have 80 yards receiving in any game. So like I don't even think you can't even make the Worthy argument that Kyle made for the other guys. Like he doesn't have the peripheral stuff that's as amazing. Like that
his peripherals are just straight up not that good. Even if you include the playoffs, I think he's a 1.7 yards per hour. I'm just like, fine, it's perfectly adequate, but it's not something that says like, wow, this guy has a level of talent to him that he just may force the issue, even if he's not the traditional wide receiver one. Isn't like pop in that way for me.
I think we do Penix here because we don't have a quarterback yet.
At all?
It's fun.
Yeah, and we could have. We could have Kirk Strouded, and we could have. Yeah, I'm never going to forget this.
We should have done Kirk.
No,
Kyle just as a bit said no to Kirk. I mean, come on.
That's not a bit.
It was not a bit. You didn't want Kirk. Okay.
Well, I guess we also took him last time. Yeah, Penix here is a good pick. I like that one.
All right, so Penix, and then we could do Stroud with Jalen Noel or something, and Dalton Schultz.
What else do we have open here? Anything?
Shough, Bryce. We could take Bryce Young.
Bryce. Yeah, we do have Bryce.
We could.
I think we push quarterback, especially if we've got a Shough set up.
It's going to be a 3 QB team anyway.
Danny Dimes.
That's kind of how I was feeling. Yeah. Okay. All right. So then let's make we could go like Hollywood. I don't love it, but I think it's fine.
Reebs. Anybody you like here?
ADP. I would say probably Hollywood. We don't need
Ray Davis.
And we don't need a running back though, right?
I kind of agree with that. Like, it's not the funnest pick, but like, it's the best pick for what this team needs. I think my only thing
we could have also Goddard again.
Goddard's such a good pick. My only thing with Shough and the Saints, like, I think Shough is a terrible prospect. Like, I am so over all the film watchers. Like, oh, he's just so NFL ready. Like, yeah, the guy who threw for like 3,000 yards once in 7 college seasons. Like, God, I'd hope he's ready. I don't think he's a good prospect, but also like, we are really bad at picking quarterback prospects. It's like one of the worst things we are as like a predictive community. I can see how I'm wrong. And most importantly, getting 17 starts at quarterback, which maybe is not guaranteed, but it's fairly likely for Shough, is just really not doable at his range outside of Shough. Like, if you just tell me, I mean, this was the argument I actually like Bo Nix as a prospect. And early in the offseason, it's like 17 starts from Bo Nix in the 18th round. 100%. I almost draft him like every single draft. Shough is not that because I think he's less of a guarantee to get 17 starts because I think he's bad. But I do think like he's probably a favorite. Richard, what would you say? Like, is he a favorite to get 17 starts? Let's throw out injury as like a potential.
I would say it's definitely not 100% just because the Saints could be that bad, and
he could be that bad. Like,
and he could be that bad, where like you easily could. Kellen Moore could look at it and like say, like, hey, we give Spencer.
My job needs you to not play,
whatever. He's trying to get a year or two on the job. The problem with Shough is that like no one would have taken this dude outside of the Saints that high. So it's like
I don't know though, because man, the film people were incessant about him. He was definitely.
What's crazy about Shough versus like you think about the year before versus like Bo Nix and Jaden Daniels, who were older prospects because of the COVID stuff, is that they had a ton of experience. This dude played 7 years in college and only had 950 pass attempts. Only Jalen Moreau in this class had fewer pass attempts than him. Like, he's not even seasoned. Also, when he was tasked to punch up as a 25-year-old, quarterback against Power 5 opponents, he had the second lowest on-target throw rate to this class. He was one of the worst on-target quarterbacks against the blitz. When pressured, he was ahead of only Max Brosmer in on-target throws in this class. Like, these are just all things that's like really for like a not an elite prospect. Like, it's just not exciting on any level. And then we're throwing him into potentially a team that could have the number 1 pick next year, like with him. Like, that's the tough thing, right? Like, one
thing I like about Saints receivers, which is not useful for Shough, is that he's a good quote, good quarterback at converting dropbacks to pass attempts because he's good at avoiding sacks. He does throw the ball away a lot, but he doesn't scramble. He is not a scrambler at all, and he just doesn't take sacks. So for his pass catchers, like the percentage of his dropbacks that turn into targeted pass attempts is going to like dwarf someone. I mean, I was trying to think of who you're talking about. Caleb is the reverse of this. Caleb has got a little bit of that hero ball and the sack taker. So it's very difficult for, on a per route basis, his receivers to earn targets. This is not useful for Shough, but it is useful for his pass catchers that like they're just going to get opportunities. A lot of them, like Olave, if he can stay healthy, is running a lot of routes, and a lot of those routes turn into inaccurate but targeted throws.
We are almost back up on the clock. Couple more picks before ours, so we can't really make our decision yet. We have 7 receivers now, so we probably don't want to receive.
Kyle Pitts, let's do it. Let's do it, Kyle Pitts at ADP stacked. Go.
Bryce Young is here. Do we want Bryce Young? Do we want Bryce Young with Ted McMillan?
Yeah, I think Pitts. I think Young makes a ton of sense. We're set at receiver. We only have 3 running backs. We spent a ton. It's
Rich, I'm going to give you veto power.
No, it's fine. Listen, I came on here and talked about drafting players and good teams. They built a Raider stack and then a Kyle Pitts stack.
And we got
to be clear, I almost never draft Kyle Pitts, but it's times like this that
it does make a ton of sense.
Yeah, it does. This would be the one time.
Right at ADP, yeah.
I haven't drafted Kyle Pitts once, and I haven't drafted the Rashid Shaheed yet. So we're going down this road together.
Yeah, we are.
It's funny. Actually, I don't draft much of these guys either. I draft a lot of Olave. I don't draft much Shaheed. I do draft a lot of Shough. Especially easy on DraftKings, though. With 20 roster spots, 3 quarterbacks, 3 tight end is just a layup. Not 100% of the time, but like damn near 100% of the time. Where the picks you're making around Tyler Shough on DraftKings, like there will be players who get cut and do not play in the NFL in the 18th round on DraftKings. And you will be drafting some of them. You can just take 17 starts from Tyler Shough. And I'll do it every time. Like Aaron Rodgers kind of falls into this category as well. And even like 12 starts from Daniel Jones is better than Tez Walker, who was a healthy scratch for about half his rookie season and mostly played special teams for the other 8 games or whatever. Like, and we make a lot of those picks. We underrate how many of those picks we make. And in best ball, like getting a guy who has the potential every single week to contribute to your roster because he's a starting quarterback or because he's locked in as the RB2. This is why Roshan is shooting up. It's like, Roshan isn't going to get cut. He was at a point in the draft. He's shot up now, so I think he's probably at the right price. But, a month ago, it was like he was getting priced around guys who some of them will get cut. And I think that's kind of the argument for these 3 types of builds in terms of the onesies. And for like Pitts, I draft very, very, very little Kyle Pitts. But it's like good to remember in these spots where like either they're just a super ADP value or they fit your build so perfectly. It's like, on the players you are confident are bad picks, these are the types of times you want to take them.
Yeah.
Everything falls into place. And like, Neil, you said 2 years ago, Adam Thielen, I drafted none of him. I was totally like, he is washed. And Rich, you're right. Most of the time, do not catch the falling knife. Guy who's just on a old downward decline. You just don't have to catch the falling knife. But I'm sure if I drafted 150 teams that year, there wasn't 1, 2, maybe 5 teams that could have benefited from the potential to get a steady Eddie, like where I just didn't get good wide receivers or I took rookies or whatever. And I could have benefited from like an early season production kind of guy. I'm sure I could have used 3% of him or whatever, but I took none and it really punished me. And I still think it was a good bet. Like I still think it was perfectly fine to not take perennially in decline and changing teams Adam Thielen, but to take 0%. And that's the argument of Kyle Pitts. I will have like 2 or 3%. But when we have a big team stack and we need a second tight end, you should take your medicine is like a good lesson that I think best ball people should have learned from last year, which was just a crappy year for, I think, the best ball community at large in terms of like best ball people in general love drafting the young guys and love drafting like fading the dead zone-y type of running backs. And like we got burned not only by what happened, but by our confidence in that nothing else could have happened. There was no way any early running backs would crush. We're like, getting one Alvin Kamara on your roster that was just loaded up with Bucky Irving and Rico Dowdle and Chase Brown, who none of whom contributed much at all through 8 weeks and were still awesome picks. You never got to reap those rewards because you refused to take any early points and, different sort of arguments for taking players you don't like, but always be willing to find the arguments for the players you don't like, especially when it fits this like micro level of team.
Yeah, good, perfect pick for this specific team. Good, to get your little bit of exposure on a player where you're stacked. It's right at ADP. It's a positional need. Like everything worked out for Kyle Pitts on this specific team. What's up, EMAC? Another
hey, Mac.
Guy who was an awesome coworker of ours. Reebs, I want to hear your thoughts on. So Cooper Kupp to me is like the best pattern match to Adam Thielen, except that he goes 70 picks earlier than where you had to take Adam Thielen a couple years ago, because he's seemed to be on the decline. He's changing teams, and I'm like, sometimes like those players that are changing teams, you kind of see them like they really get after it. That okay, it's our pick. Sorry, we have to make our pick first. So we
see what we got.
We're at 2-3-7-2. We could use a running back for sure. DJ Giddens is top of the sidekick. Will Shipley's available. Any thoughts? Anybody?
I'll go. I mean, it doesn't matter. I was gonna say Shipley, but mostly because we took Giddens last time, and Giddens, I take him a ton. So
okay. Kate Otten, Mike Gesicki. We could do another running back. Could do Shipley also. Reebs, do you have any late round running backs that you like?
I gave you guys JCM earlier. That's a super late round guy.
How do you feel about Jaylen Wright, top of Q?
I'm fine with Jaylen Wright. Like I said, I brought up Justice Hill earlier too. Like he's just a glue guy.
Go Miles Sanders.
Like he's a glue guy.
I have so much Miles Sanders.
Those guys are all fine.
You don't have to take him then.
I like Miles Sanders, but I have so much. Justice Hill feels right.
And like I said, I know people are going to look at Justice Hill and they're going to always, because Keaton Mitchell gets steamed, but like, dude, Keaton Mitchell's never, if there's something has to Derrick Henry, he's not, Justice Hill's doing the same shit that Justice Hill's doing. Like he's playing the same role. He's doing everything and he's going to have some spike weeks. He did it last year, and like, you'll never draft him in season long because you'll never get him right, but you'll soak up those couple games when the Ravens pour it on some team or he has the nutso game.
Just need the right game script.
He's just a great guy to throw into like a room that has like an RJ Harvey, right? Like those types of guys, because there's gonna be weeks where those guys just run cold or don't have the touchdown opportunities, and you just like, man, like some guys just got to plug into a lineup. Yeah,
he's a guy I didn't take at all last year, and I really felt dumb about it. Once the season started, I was like, oh yeah, this is pretty obvious. Justice.
Scroll up and see where JMO went. Where are you guys taking JMO? I mean,
I said I'm a little below market on the Lions in general, like as a team, and I don't believe they're going to flatline. I just think there's going to be there's a lot of variables in play. And remember this time last year, everyone was telling you about the Lions schedule, right? And how good it was. And they're playing all these indoor games. Like that's flipped too. They have a really strong or a really hard adjusted schedule from how they performed last year and what they had last year. There's just a lot of variables, the Ben Johnson, the Rag now, like there's the Goff coming off a career year. Like there's just all these things where I'm just like, there's a little more fragility there. And I don't think guys like Gibbs and Amon-Ra are going to fail, but then like these other pieces that don't have like elite target shares, it's easy to say like, all right, maybe Laporta's not as good as a pick or Jameson Williams not as good a pick as ADP. Like where does it start pulling the David Montgomerys, right? Like if there's going to be a reduction in touchdowns, it's going to be a player that's probably a little more dependent on touchdowns that gets influenced. So like those types of guys, I think I'm a little bit more just like haven't been hammering at their current cost because they're getting drafted as Lions could be Lions.
Pick 40 in this draft for JMO. For the record,
I have like no JMO. I was curious what you guys thought. Like
he is very much. I'm getting
massive Calvin Ridley vibes of like, oh man, Calvin Ridley's running routes. Let's take him with the 2-3 turn on the Jags. Like I don't know, man. He's just not a target dominator. And as Reebs said, like we probably should reasonably project this team to not lead the NFL in scoring because being the best team in the NFL year over year is really hard, especially when you don't have an elite quarterback and when you lose as much of the sort of hard to quantify, but clearly not good to lose things in a lot of the staff and the offensive line. And we're like, oh, well, the guy who relies on hyper efficiency and not volume, like that's JMO to a T.
Also, they get their defense
not
comes back. So, like, it's one of the things they gain is a good defense, which also hurts.
Or they can afford to not have to play these crazy shootouts over the second half of the season. Their defense was really good in the first half of the year. They're like a top 6 or 7 team in EPA per play.
And then that's when everyone started to come around is that back half when things opened up because the Laporta started to come around. And Laporta was banged up at the beginning of the year, to be fair to him. But even people I don't think remember, because if you're not playing DFS, it probably doesn't stand out to you as much because of the end of the season results. But I do a show on Fridays with Hilo, and like we just kept talking about for like several weeks in a row, like why Amon-Ra St. Brown was 9K. Like he was not worth a 9K wide receiver. And there was a couple weeks we were on him where it popped. I think the Bills game stands out. We were on him, but there's repeatedly a scenario like for like the first 10 weeks of the season where like he wasn't hitting that value at all and his price wasn't budging. His targets were kind of significantly lower than it was his first 2 years. Obviously, if you look at Amon-Ra St. Brown's like 4-year career, the 2023 kind of looks like an outlier, and the other 3 years from an efficiency stance all kind of look the same. So it's always one of those things like, all right, well, what was the truism? 2023 when, Jameson Williams wasn't there, like that's kind of the spike season. And will it continue to be the spike season? I don't know. But the other 3 years from an efficiency stance are almost identical.
Interesting. That was also Sam Laporta's rookie year, wasn't it? When he was at his best. Interesting. We are coming back,
and
around.
It's still a good player. I don't want to just get dunked on Amon-Ra St. Brown type thing.
Yeah, at his price though, you need him to be a great player because we do think a great player will come out of that range. Wait, hold on. Is Tyler Shough gone? There's no. Oh, no.
All right. Do we want Danny Dimes or Tyler Shough?
No, we want Tyler Shough. We already have double Saints.
We do have Josh Downs though too.
No, double Saints. And no, and we're starting 17 games. Tyler Shough. 17 Tyler Shough starts, buddy.
This guy's just a huge Tyler Shough fan. Kyle has been just
he is. I truly have just been 17 games pilled. Guy who starts 17 games in the 18th round. It's a good pick.
Do we want Juwan Johnson to add on a triple Shough stack, or do we want to go somewhere?
Fun fact,
do we want Croskey-Merritt? Let's go.
I think we're good at running back. I think we want one more wide receiver.
Fun fact, you do know Shough and Juwan Johnson were roommates in college, right?
And they were, yeah.
I did not know that. Wait, who are we doing? Who are we doing?
See what receivers we have. Go to receiver. Hurry, move.
We don't have time. I'm taking this guy. JCM.
Okay,
I mean, I guess we were pretty strong at running back. I was looking at.
I think after the top two, it's wide open. And remember, we double dipped the 8. Not that it matters that we had 2 8-week bye guys, but like,
matters a little bit when the rest.
We're gonna need something. We're gonna need something
pretty thin.
Do you think Tyler Shough remembers Juwan as a wide receiver? Because I
believe he called him when they got drafted. He called him. They talked about it. Yeah,
but does he remember him specifically as a wide receiver? Because
probably.
Yeah, he's probably like, oh yeah, Juwan, go deep. Like that's
because he was a receiver. He was a receiver.
Yeah, he was a wide receiver and converted at Penn State. I think.
Oregon. He was at Oregon.
Well, did he transfer to Penn State? I believe.
Juwan Johnson? No, that was Theo Johnson.
Is Brandon Cooks on the Saints?
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that. All right.
The more you know, Rainbow.
Are you drafting him?
No.
Okay.
No, Reebs. Juwan played at Penn State.
Did he?
Oh, I had the order reversed though. He was at Penn State and then moved. Yeah, I had the order reversed. But yeah, like what if you actually? I don't know when he transferred or when he switched positions. Sports Ref lists him as a wide receiver the entire time. But imagine him splitting Juwan out wide. None of this tight end stuff. Like Juwan, you're running deep. You're a best ball tight end. That's how he remembers him.
We should have taken it. We should have taken Juwan Johnson. That's what I'm hearing.
We could have.
In our Tyler Shough stack.
That's the shower narrative to the extreme, right?
Like,
is Tyler Shough good enough to bring along 3 pass catchers? Because we have Rashee Rice, Chris Olave. We could have added Juwan Johnson on there.
I don't think he is.
Any support?
As the Tyler Shough bull of the group. No. The answer to that is no.
Yeah.
Look, honestly, Tyler Shough probably isn't good enough to bring along 2.
Is it good enough to bring along 1? Is the real question.
That's what we hope.
I think so, but also I think one of them, Chris Olave, like I said earlier, I think he's pretty good. It's like he's another guy who you look at his early career stuff and like he had like back-to-back like 1,100-yard seasons to start his career. Like guys who do that are often...
I can't believe that we're punishing Olave, and I think it's fine that if you want to punish him to the degree, like maybe not to the degree he is, but Garrett Wilson just keeps climbing. It's like it's mind-blowing.
I made this comparison before.
It's absolutely mind-blowing.
I know
that we're doing this again with Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson climbing to the like wide receiver 1 ADP is like absolutely mind-blowing to me when it's literally been 3 years in a row, and now he's getting a quarterback where it's going to reduce play volume, and it's because of the DJ Moore season, obviously. But DJ Moore was cheap that year. Moore was expensive that year.
You're preaching to the choir, brother. So Chris Olave's 3 seasons, yards per route run, 2.1, 2.1, 2.4. Has Garrett Wilson ever topped 2?
And he's going to play in the slot a lot more with Kellen Moore. Like, they're going to move. He's going to create free squares for Olave, even if the quarterback sucks, because that's what Kellen Moore has consistently shown he's done in his career. Like,
yeah, Garrett Wilson, I believe career high of like 1.85 yards per route run. Like, not the perfect stat. He's played in some bad situations. Give him credit where that's due. Like, he's played on some bad teams, but like, I don't know, man. Like, every peripheral metric says Chris Olave is better. Also, counting stats say he's very similar. Last year, he missed most of the season. Years before that, 1,100 yards and 1,000 yards. Like, I agree with you, Rich. That like,
if I'm not saying this is the be all end all, and you should operate this way, but if you just do wide receiver ADP and like you look at like their over unders, like where they are right now, like Garrett Wilson stands out. Like his touchdown projection is over under is 4.5, and he's being drafted at wide receiver
4.5.
12. Yeah, it's 4.5. Well, remember, he only had 7 touchdowns his first 2 years total, and then it's 7 last year with Rodgers, because he received like the highest on target rate of his early career. And even the ghost of Aaron Rodgers is a better passer than what we've seen from Justin Fields to this point, and then reducing the play volume.
I was going to say the play volume too. It's like,
but
I mean, yeah.
But again, and I'm not saying it's the be all end all, and like you should operate this way, but if you're looking at, if you just line up the receivers going around him in ADP, every other guy is like 7.5, 6. Like it's like, dude, you're taking the guy that is like he might get 5 touchdowns out of, like, at a wide receiver 1 cost. Like, we've been doing it for 3 years. It's not Garrett Wilson's fault. It's literally the Goodwill Hunting meme of Robin Williams. It's not your fault. Like, but like, we still like have to understand for fantasy football, like it exists still. Like,
yeah, especially on a half PPR site where those touchdowns are really meaningful. It's like, yeah. All right, let's do a review of our team. Guys, I see several people wanting us to review their teams, and I love you guys, but I'm not going to put my guests through reviewing all of your teams. You can go to the Discord, link in the description for the Flaniverse Discord. There's a grade my draft section there. I'm happy to always look at your teams, but Kyle's been on here for 3 hours with me, so we're just going to do our team, and we're going to get out of here. We have Michael Penix, Bryce Young, and Tyler Shough at quarterback. Running back, Ashton Jeanty, Kyren Williams, RJ Harvey, DJ Giddens, Justice Hill, and Jacory Croskey-Merritt. Wide receivers, we have A.J. Brown, Tet McMillan, Chris Olave, Josh Downs, Darnell Mooney, Rashid Shaheed, and Hollywood Brown. And a tight end, Mark Andrews and Kyle Pitts. So we're stacked up everywhere. We got Penix is double stacked with Mooney and Kyle Pitts. We've got Bryce Young stacked up with just Tet McMillan. And then we have Shough stacked up with Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed. It's an interesting team. I mean, the quarterback room is Michael Penix, Bryce Young, and Tyler Shough. So we're not safe at quarterback, but we have 3, and it's, we get there by volume. How do we feel about it?
I think this is good. I mean, this is something. I mean, Sacrilegious, who you had on, you said a week or 2 ago, has sort of talked about it. It's like the cheap team stacks, where just like you can get a lot of members of a team very late. Like, they're high variance, which means a lot of the times they don't work. Obviously, like a lot of the times taking Tyler Shough doesn't work. But in this game of best ball that we're playing, the variance at low cost is your friend. Finding a way to get 4 players on your team who all crush ADP is how you win these big tournaments. I mean, it's what we saw with like last year getting the Broncos right, in terms of getting specifically, it's mostly like Marvin Mims, Cortland Sutton, and Bo Nix right, or the year before that getting CJ Stroud right, also both rookies. In terms of like, how do you have a situation where a quarter of your roster is all smashes? Well, it's like, find guys who it's an easy path to beat their ADP, which in part just means they're cheap, and group all the bets together. So these late team stacks, not that they are going to hit very often, but when they do hit, it just creates such a disproportionate advantage that like another reason to like not love the Tyler Shough micro bet, but the macro of like, this is the archetype of how you win best ball tournaments.
I want to hear your favorite late stacks. So just before we get out of here, after CJ Stroud, you guys have a favorite like late stack to go to in the Stafford, Tua, Cam Ward, Geno, Darnold, Rodgers, Dart, Shough, and any like you consistently go to there?
Consistent is strong, but I could go for a little Cam Ward, Alec Iamaner. Like Iamaner was like a very data-focused prospect. There was some like both film stuff and some deeper data stuff. Like, he's got a little bit of that JJ Arcega-Whiteside like contested catch that maybe won't translate. but also like I believe true sophomore 30% break, like 30% dominator breakout, did it again, early declare. Not great draft capital, but 4th round isn't too bad, and super clear path to early season routes at least. Like I like that prospect. I like the situation in terms of routes, and it's another situation where I said like if you can get a bunch of players on a team that are cheap and are high variance, those bets when they hit really crush for you. So I'll take that one outside of my Tyler Shough one.
All right, Reebs, any that you like?
Not quite like where I'm doing a lot of pairings, but I have been doing a lot of, mix and matching of like that just tier of quarterbacks where it's like JJ McCarthy, Bryce Young, Michael Penix, Cam Ward. Those are the kind of guys that are just kind of like floating in that nebulous zone, but obviously offer upside versus kind of the guys who we know who they are, right? Like the Rodgers, the Genos, the Sam Darnolds, right? So like I'd rather kind of see like where if maybe there's potential where that group of guys that I just named maybe can compete with the guys that are already pricey, like the Mays, the Bo Nixes, that are already have that like priced in, right? Can they get there? The Caleb Williams, right? Caleb's not a guy I've drafted at all at ADP, but you know what I mean? Like those guys that are just kind of floating around. So it just kind of depends like how I operated like early in the draft, right? Like I've already talked about a lot about the Falcons. I think McCarthy's a guy I don't mind taking on his own too, like without a stack. Just because I think there's like some squint. I brought up all the things about like how I think they're going to throw more, but like I think his efficiency could be coaxed into being high, right? Like I think if he can be like very early career Brock Purdy-ish in an apex outcome, like in a high end outcome, I don't think it's hard to like squint and see that for a guy like him. And then Cam Ward is just like a wild card guy, right? Like, he just kind of hangs out. He's the number 1 pick overall. You just kind of throw a dart there and see whether you don't even have to have Calvin Ridley. You can do it like a Conquo later, or just take him on his own too as well.
Yeah, Io Minor can make what was it? Chike. I forget what the last guy. That's the word. That's the name I'm looking for.
Jahmyr Gibb.
Yeah, so many.
Not drafting him. Bad prospect. No go.
All right. Fair enough. All right. Really appreciate both of you coming on. Kyle, first, I'll let you go first. Where can people find you? Do you have any other content coming out? All that kind of stuff. Sell yourself.
Find me on Twitter, not calling it X, at Kyle Tweets Here. I brought up a few times an article about the like superstar wide receivers and what their early career trajectories look like. That's on my Twitter somewhere if you scroll through for it. But that was something that, among other reasons, to be on guys like Jayden Reed and Josh Downs. So if you want to read more about that, go check that out.
I will do that. Reebs, how about you? Where can people find you? What else? You have any other content coming out?
Yeah, sharpfootballanalysis.com. Post 4th of July is where I just ramp up and I basically do a series every week for the draft kit. So I've been doing up like my full like write up on the player tiers right now ahead. So they'll be coming out after 4th of July. But I will, if anyone's going to FSGA in Chicago next week, I'll be there. So if anyone's headed over there, I'll be hanging out there.
Very cool. I still have not done that. Maybe 1 year I'll join you guys there. All right. Thank you guys both very much for hanging out. This is a lot of fun. Thanks to chat for hanging out. Also, if you have not hit the like button or subscribe to the channel, please do so. And I will be back next week. Catch you guys later.